What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday. It is episode 406 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. It's Friday. I am happy. Thank God it's Friday. And today we have a special guest on the show, as usual. This is a returning guest, John Trent from Bounding Into Comics. Hello.
Hello, how's it going? It's good to be here. I guess I'm a crisis actor now, too.
Yeah, you're an official crisis actor.
Okay. You are. And of course, something had to go wrong right off the bat.
What happened?
I have to sign back in to the sign for the crisis.
Well, don't worry about that. You made me think that something was wrong with the stream.
No, nothing is wrong with the stream. We're good. So we should be.
I thought you ended the stream.
Nope, I did not.
I've seen that happen before.
We are back live now. We did not go anywhere. So, guys, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. I put a poll up in the chat. I linked to an article up to the top of the chat of this absolutely insane sounding article in which Mark Wahlberg details his experience watching satanic rituals from Hollywood elites at a Christmas party. John has his suspicions on whether this article is real or not. I put to you in the chat, do you believe this is real? Mary is probably
gonna love if this is a real story and we end up being one of the first channels to cover it.
Well,
I'm just gonna die for that.
We're gonna have Mary read through it, and we're like, it gets more insane as you go. John's got his doubts. Do you not?
I think it's complete bunk.
Bunk. All right. Well, good thing we're not a news channel here. We're a commentary channel. We don't have. We can say fake
suck
news.
It. If we cover fake news, too bad.
Deal with it, bro. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. So it's this article in which Mark Wahlberg, he details the satanic rituals of baby blood drinking Hollywood adrenochrome addicts at a holiday Christmas party. We will get into it. We're also going to get into the SAG-AFTRA strike in which Fran Drescher gave this annoying speech. Mary loves her. Mary's now the world's biggest Fran Drescher fan.
The speech itself, yes, it was annoying. She's talking about being on the right side of history, stuff like that. But I find her passion endearing. Well, she's a cute little old lady.
She seemed like she rallied the troops from what I was seeing reactions on Twitter. I didn't actually see I haven't seen it, but
we're gonna watch the clip. That's a good way of describing it.
Vaccine skeptic queen. How can you turn on her now?
It is my favorite thing about it is like they decide who they like based on what their current view is. So when she was saying they should reopen for COVID, they're like, she's evil, get rid of her. And then they're like, well, now she supports the unions. Like, we love her, she's great. Then they're like, she's off partying with Kim Kardashian. She's evil, get rid of her.
We were just reciting our entire conversation in her accent.
Yeah.
Earlier, like the jig is up.
The jig is up. All right, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Bob Iger. You wrote a very well-written article where he talks about how they do not supposedly exploit kids. He gets into a little bit about Marvel and Disney being pared back. We've got some other content with that. So Bob Iger's got a lot to say because they just renewed his very, very hefty contract. So we'll get into all that.
Yeah, he got a 2-year extension, and then he was up. What are you like up in Idaho with all the other billionaires out there, and then did an interview with CNBC.
Wonder if him and I bet like him.
Why were billionaires in Idaho?
They had like a big conference called like the Sun Valley Conference or something like that.
It's where rich people go to
and
compare.
I wasn't invited? Okay.
Yeah. And I imagine they both they look at their like LL Bean jackets and they compare their jackets to one another. So we'll talk about that.
Patagonia
I don't think they're wearing
Patagonia.
You think they're wearing LL Bean and Patagonia?
They're probably wearing brands that you've never heard of that make $15,000 cotton t-shirts.
I hope so. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Adam 22. Mary, what does Adam 22 say to Pearl?
Adam 22 has propositioned Pearl for $1 million to have a threesome with him and his wife, who recently did her first porn scene with another man.
Disgusting.
The world is so degenerate. It's hard to comprehend sometimes.
It is. I've got two people who are going to condemn it.
Yes, we should.
They're going to condemn it. I'm going to say, whatever. We'll talk about it. We got a bunch of other stuff. If you guys are ready, we will get right into it. Mary, you ready?
Let's go.
Johnny, you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Let's do this. All right. Speaking of the actor strike, there's a bunch of news that comes out of it in tandem. In this case, Oppenheimer cast leave the premiere early ahead of the actors strike. Matt Damon expressed solidarity for the action. And actually what happened was a lot of people seemed to, like, a lot of the actors said, we're basically talking about, like, look, I'm in solidarity with my castmates, with the fellow actors. Cillian Murphy had his very short, sweet comment. He got to the point. Florence Pugh made similar comments. She was talking about it, saying, like, look, we got lucky. We got to both promote our movie and show solidarity for other actors as well.
Boo,
I feel bad
whatever.
for Christopher Nolan, who can't seem to catch a break. Tenet can't seem to catch a break coming out because of COVID. Now his movie's trying to premiere, and Barbie's crapping all over it in the promotional department.
Isn't that the most
Is it
established?
crapping on it?
No, I'm saying they're doing a better job of marketing. It seems like they're trying way harder to market Barbie than they are trying to market Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I mean, Oppenheimer should have been later on in the year because it's an Oscar bait film.
They should have blown up a
true.
Barbie dream house.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just blow up a Barbie dream house? I guess maybe they
Because
think
Christopher Nolan has too much pride for that.
and no sense
and he
of humor.
doesn't want to be officially associated. There are so many people making buck on Redbubble from like the non-licensed merchandise, like the Barbenheimer t-shirts.
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But is it that the most established actors are the most like loud about the strike, or is it just that it's more interesting when they talk about it versus an actor you've never heard of?
I think it's because people know who they are, so you kind of like pay attention more.
Because then their name
They just
is always
have the
lead
least
of the-
right to complain of
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah, and that's my main complaint about the Fran Drescher stuff, but we'll get into it. So not only that, though, not only did the Oppenheimer cast leave the premiere early, now Comic-Con panels are being canceled. Did you see this? Like they're canceling. I mean, a lot of it is still, because Comic-Con isn't really about comics the way it used to be. Now it's a lot of television and movies.
It's pretty much what it had turned into.
They're like...
It
they're
had
like,
a That 70s Show signing event.
my guess is that they just didn't want to talk about Danny Masterson. That would be my guess. They didn't want to answer Scientology questions.
Most of the big studios were already prepared for that, though. I mean, Disney wasn't coming, Marvel wasn't coming, DC was just doing comic stuff. You weren't seeing James Gunn there, so they were already they knew this was coming.
And James Gunn is going to have a little bit of no, wait. Did you see the thing that said that Ryan Reynolds isn't allowed to make to ad lib for Deadpool 3 because of the writers, because he's a producer and a writer on it?
Yeah.
Right. So they're
Seems
kind
accurate.
they're kind of like backed into a corner with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
He's an ad lib guy.
He is an ad lib guy, but are there people over there policing him? Who knows? I don't know.
He just writes it down, like he just writes it in the margins.
Was it already in the script? I don't know.
It just smells like whiteout, where he's just written it in pencil.
Yeah. I mean, he might have one of those guys like, I don't know, with 8 Mile, you saw Eminem just like have that like huge notebook with all the jokes. Maybe just like, oh, I had it written down already.
Yeah.
Like, and you
just backdate it.
Yeah, yeah, you could do that too.
Believe it or not, you can just write something in pencil and write another date. Like you don't have to actually write today's date on there.
Cook the books a little bit there.
Yeah,
Right?
it'd be good. But yeah, they pulled the plug on a bunch of other things. Did you watch Good Omens? Did anybody here watch Good Omens? Lydia used to sing the praises of Good Omens. I didn't watch that show, but we'll see what happens with Comic-Con. It's I still can't believe people are going back to conventions.
Why did they have to cancel a That 70s Show anniversary panel? Like, is that part of the picket line? You're not allowed to promote things you've done in the past?
I would
either?
assume so.
It might have something to do with the fact that they are part of that 90s show that's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe
Seems like it was unaffiliated, and everyone hated that 90s show.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It might have been. You might be right though.
But also, Eric DeJuly is doing a panel there, right?
Yeah, he is with Chris Gore.
That's awesome. Like
People are real upset about it.
Why? Oh,
Because they're doing a panel.
Yeah.
He has the most insane haters
As
on
you would
planet
expect.
Earth. Not as you expect. It's worse.
Yeah.
It's like he brings out a rage in people on Twitter that I haven't seen in a lot of ways.
It's because he's a successful black man.
Yes,
And he calls them crackheads.
Yeah.
It's my favorite part.
Yeah.
It's
Which they are.
somebody's like somebody actually like I laughed at one of those tweets at some point. Somebody's like, as an addict in recovery, you should be. I'm like, no, it's funny. It's funny either way.
You're allowed to laugh.
Like I'm like yes, as an addict in recovery, I can laugh at other people being called crackheads.
As
you
a
can't stop me.
present day, current, active crack addict, Alex Stein introduced me to crack.
That is true. I saw that picture.
I think it's okay to laugh at that joke.
So we'll see what happens.
Those people
with
are
that.
clearly addicted to Twitter drama, e-drama.
Do you think people
They're
are?
crackheads.
Do you think people are most addicted to their phones? I was thinking about this last night. The other day, I had to my phone died while I was out, right? And when I came home, like the charger just wasn't working, and it was a little bit, antsy for a period of time there. So what I used to do is I used to just take weekends where I would just turn my phone off. I just wouldn't. But at that time, I didn't really have anything going where I needed to be in consistent contact with people, but it would actually be pretty difficult for me to not be on my phone. So I think it's fair to say that I think a lot of people are probably more addicted to their phones than they're willing to admit. these days.
No, I mean, Twitter, Elon Musk admits that his platform makes people angry. I'm pretty sure he has probably a plethora of data that shows that he wants to addict people to it with the hit from whatever that's called. I can't remember what it's called, but Facebook has it. There's plenty of reports on there.
Speaking of Twitter, we've got this story.
They're now paying revenue to their blue check verified accounts if they get a certain amount of engagement.
It's
kind of sus to me. Like a lot of the influencers who have gotten revenue from the program are posting the numbers publicly in the interest of transparency, and it just seems sus to me. Like it just seems like they're probably getting paid to advertise the program.
Yeah.
But if it were an ad, they would be legally required to disclose that.
Yeah.
In the interest of transparency.
It's
right?
kind of like when they were.
I don't think you're required. Are you required?
I think that's legally what you have to do, or is it in the TOS of these social media platforms that if you post something and it's an ad, you have to disclose that it's an ad?
If it's a one-time payment, is it really an ad, or if it's saying like we'll give you this much money,
or any brand deal? Like you are. I think you're legally required to disclose that.
Yeah,
I can say we have not gotten anything on that from our Twitter handle.
But it's interesting because for these types of things, think about what Kick did when Kick they gave what's her name the huge not Amaranth, was it Amaranth? Yeah, Amaranth got a deal with Kick as well, and a bunch of other streamers got very big streaming deals with Kick because they're trying to lure them away from Twitch. Pokimane is not
moving.
No.
Well, the Twitter numbers are sketchy to me because I don't think that getting like 3 million views on a tweet is worth nearly as much as getting 3 million views on a YouTube video, for instance. Yeah. So why would you be getting a payment of like $7,000 for getting a certain amount of impressions? Impressions are just someone scrolled past your tweet. Yeah. Or someone like maybe.
Is it impressions? I thought it was like engagements. So like comments and etc.
The views, when you see the view count on a tweet, it's just that people scrolled past it. Right. It doesn't mean they clicked on it. It doesn't mean they even read it. And you can also generate another impression just by clicking on it and then exiting and then clicking on it again. And like it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It doesn't mean 1 million people saw it.
Andrina in the chat says in the US you don't have to disclose.
Yeah, I didn't think you did.
They're not required to.
I think it's just like a they do it as like an honor system.
Yeah.
Man, that's a bummer because I can imagine the Krasensteins are making a ton of money.
Also, like I know, like I don't have a problem with like people posting their videos on Twitter instead of YouTube because of censorship issues, obviously. But they are inflating the numbers because when you see that a video on Twitter has like so many views, it doesn't mean that people clicked on the video and watched it. You have to show that in your engagement, which is only visible to you. How many people actually clicked on it. And the number of seconds that someone has to view a video on YouTube to generate a view is more than that on Twitter. I think you only have to click on a video for like a split second to generate a view.
Think about the difference in revenue. We were talking about this earlier off air between shorts and regular segments, right? There's a great meme. It says like when shorts first came out, so it says like it gave some ridiculous numbers like 500 million views, and it said like $1.56 or something like that. Like it's not that bad, but it's not. You're not making a lot of money off YouTube shorts because you're not keeping them attracted for longer than. Though I go through. I admit. Like, I go through weird binges on shorts where I'll just watch a bunch of stuff on one. Like, yesterday I was watching things on bolt-action Nerf guns, which I've been looking into investing in. You get hit with it and you get a welt in your back, and it's kind of amazing.
It's a Nerf gun?
It's a bolt-action Nerf rifle, and it's amazing.
Is it like a legit like Nerf?
It's official.
I don't know if it's Nerf brand, but it's like you hear the actual sound. It's incredible. And I was looking
at that for riot control.
And I was like, yesterday I was like looking through it, and I'm like, within 5 minutes I'm like on Amazon. I'm like, bolt action. Like I'm like looking it all up. So if you're brand dealing there, that's what they should be doing is putting those brand deals out there. Cause I was looking for stuff all over after that. Cause I need to start a Nerf gun collection out here. Cause I live in Maryland, and gun laws out here are ridiculous. So if it means I have to own Nerf guns, then so be it. So do you think, Mary, you could make some money off Twitter? You like to say stuff that gets people talking.
I mean, I could, but engagement farming is going to get so bad once this partnership program gets like expanded to more people.
Yeah.
The way people just post junk and repost videos with it, like
I
the
saw-
caption of like, this is crazy. Like none of the content, I think this is going to devalue the viral content on Twitter.
Jack Posobiec was sharing like all of his hot takes on Twitter yesterday.
Yeah.
I think-
Angry and
I
make him
think just-
angry.
I don't think
just
it's
to do
going
that
to
on
make the
purpose.
platform
Yeah.
better necessarily.
All right. We got a couple of other things. Let's talk about, first things first, the Snow White and the Seven Companions.
Oh, gosh.
Because
Seven
you can't.
politically correct companions.
The companions. Is
Yeah,
that what
that's
we're calling them?
literally what it says in the article. This is from Bleeding Fool, and Mary's got some questions because she doesn't think that this is Rachel Zegler.
It's
Oh,
definitely
Daily Mail,
not.
right?
If you zoom in on this girl, this is not Rachel Zegler.
Okay.
It's a stand-in.
I've got both the articles. I got the
Oh.
original, the one that I found from
Oh,
Bleeding Fool, but
okay.
then it connects to the one
Okay.
from.
Yeah,
So,
look at that girl. That is not Rachel Zegler.
Okay, it says the character of the fictional princess who's to be played by Rachel Zegler in the film has been pictured for the first time with her new companions, who appear to be of a mix of genders, ethnicities, and heights. You can see them here.
Appear
Right
to be,
here.
they are.
Yeah, they're like sources can confirm. But yeah, it does look like any night out in Portland. I'll admit.
It doesn't look like there's any like Hispanics or Asians though.
Well, that's racist. The Disney is racist confirmed.
Because the only races are black and white,
That is-
clearly.
it's funny. Zach from Comics Matter used to say that he's like you do know there's more than two races in the entire world, right? Like those aren't the only people,
Right.
But SJWs, as he calls them.
This
he's like,
movie is going to be
believes it.
so bad. I just know
It's
it.
Rachel Zegler. She's box office poison. She has never.
Is that true?
Oh, 100%. Have you seen all the films that she's been in?
No.
She
Shazam,
was in West Side Story.
West Side Story. Everything she does is just box office poison.
I mean I like the first Shazam.
No, she wasn't in that one. She was in the second
Fury of
one.
the Gods.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
They got rid of the girl from the first one, and I was mad about that. The one who was like,
Oh, yeah, Mary.
who
Played Mary Marvel.
Yeah, they got rid of her. I mean, it's
'cause
because
the-
the actress was
yeah.
old enough now to play both parts,
Right,
but I
right.
was still annoyed because that actress was on Hawaii Five-0, and I really liked her on that show. And she said something where she basically said that Ashley Babbitt didn't deserve to die. People were like,
Yep.
you're awful.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got rid of her in that kind of, but I like Zachary Levi also, so it gets a lot of leeway from me. But yeah, Zegler's box office poison, and this outfit is lacking. It's not serving
It's
as the
giving
kids would
Spirit
say.
Halloween
She
meets
looks like Red Riding
Handmaid's
Hood.
Tale.
That is the
Oh,
ugliest.
Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah, that's totally what they're going with the red
hot
cape.
dog and a ketchup and mustard,
Yeah, I
a
see that.
ketchup and mustard Handmaid's Tale. That is the ugliest color yellow I've ever seen.
with a little blueberry in there, right?
It's highlighter yellow.
Okay, so this photo. I brought up the other one too because this is the real. This is her, right? That's
Yes,
Rachel
this is
Zegler.
Rachel Zegler.
And you're saying
that is not Rachel Zegler. That motherfucker over there is not real.
And
Okay.
by the way, you're allowed to care who that lady is. You're allowed.
Yes.
I saw people were like worry about other things. I'm like, come on, man. You're like,
Why do you care who the crazy lady on the plane was?
and I want to know.
It's my prerogative. That's why.
Who do you think she was? I bet she has some really interesting story too.
Maybe she wasn't real.
And then the memes that have been coming out of that are so good. It says it's like a picture of Adam Sandler from Uncut Gems where he's looking around and it's all frantic and says checking everyone on the plane to make sure they're real. Like it's like me on the plane checking to make sure everybody on the plane is real.
I like all the videos claiming that they're the guy that wasn't real.
Yeah, that's
Someone said that they were like, I was sitting next to the guy and he blinked sideways. His eyelids were like vertical.
Yeah.
the internet never fails.
He was a lizard, okay?
The internet never fails. Somebody says dressed like McDonald's colors. Maybe she was going to McDonald's
Yeah.
after this. She could have done that. So I mean, does it bother you? Did the change in dwarves of not doing dwarves bother you?
This whole movie bothers me.
Yeah.
I don't blame people for being upset about it, and I wonder if Peter Dinklage is mad that they left one in there and they didn't get rid of all of them like he wanted. Oh, there's a $20 one right there from Kevin Corbet.
He said, finally catching all live. Third shift is for the birds. Excited to see Tom Cruise is developing a Days of Thunder 2. Rubbins Racing.
That's right. Let's go.
Days of Thunder 2 Electric Boogaloo. Let's go. Also, you should see, if you haven't, Kevin, this weekend, if you go see Top Gun, or not Top Gun,
Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible. It's so good. It's so unbelievably good.
I got my tickets for tomorrow.
Excited?
Yeah, I'm super excited.
You'll have to let us know, whether when we went, the theater was pretty busy. I mean, the first couple of rows weren't packed, but that's not really
Yeah,
uncommon.
when I ordered the tickets, it was still pretty empty, but that was like 2 weeks ago. So
Okay, yeah.
I assume it'll be full.
I mean, they were saying they want it to make like $90 million this opening weekend. I thought it'd make more than that.
So it's going to be like Top Gun Maverick, right? It's going to have long legs, I think. And you're going to see people, and you're going to see people going multiple times.
I can't wait.
Okay.
I'm very. I actually considered going again this weekend just because to me it was like the story's minimal. Like the story's good, but it's like it's the action scenes. You go there for the action scenes. And somebody in the chat the other day was like, "I'm gonna wait to see it when the second part comes out so I can watch them back to back." I'm like, "Don't do that because you need to see this in theaters. You shouldn't watch this at home first."
If they're smart, they'll have the back to back where you can go and
showings.
Yeah, they do that. They do that now.
All right.
The smart companies do that now.
I think Rachel Zegler's under the impression that she's going to be the next Halle Bailey.
They're trying to make her that. She's
The Little
not.
Mermaid did well, but she doesn't have the same charisma as Halle Bailey has. It's not going to perform nearly as well, in my prediction.
I mean, I'm completely jaded on her because when Jeremy Renner was going through like his legal issues, she was just absolutely just throwing him under the bus, saying the most nasty
Rachel
vile.
Zegler was?
Yeah, the nastiest vile
She's
things
also
about him.
very much a race baiter.
Yeah.
On Twitter.
I
She
do
was like,
not like
look,
her.
it's not the 1930s anymore.
Yeah.
We're bringing a modern twist to this story.
They never bring new stories. They bring modern twists.
And she
which
doesn't
just
need to
means-
be saved by the prince.
It's not good,
She's a capable feminist woman.
I feel bad for Gal Gadot being in this film.
She might. I mean, yeah, but
I don't know if she can play evil.
She's too likable.
Yeah, we'll see.
People are like, people are saying The Little Mermaid didn't do well. It made good money the opening weekend. It broke 100 million the opening weekend. Just cost too much to make.
Yeah, the ROI, it's still negative.
Yep.
Even if you go with the conservative number, which is the 2.5, which means the studios are taking 60% rather than 50% from box office.
I always just break it and say 50-50 rather than the high end for studios, just to be like.
Yeah, so 50-50 is actually more aggressive. That means the studios aren't getting as much. So then you actually think The Little Mermaid lost even more money.
Yeah, well, yeah. But I don't like to think that the studio, because I've heard Disney takes more than other studios.
That might have been the case previously when they were the juggernaut before COVID, but I don't know if that's the case anymore now. I don't know if they're able to actually negotiate that stuff because you do have Paramount with Tom Cruise here. You've got Sony, or Universal with Oppenheimer, and then you've got Warner Brothers with Barbie as well, and then you had Paramount with Transformers. So there's just a lot more competition now.
Did you see the new Transformers?
I have not. When movies signal to me that they're going to be race baiting or do that stuff, I just stay away completely now.
Yeah, that one lost me. We went. I went
when the Killers of the Flower Moon trailer came on before Mission Impossible. We were just like, well, that just seems like a boatload of fun.
It just looks like a great time at the movies. I want to be lectured about race by Robert De Niro. Yeah. All right, guys, let's go.
That guy's definitely fallen from his heyday as like in Heat or Godfather.
Yep. Mary found this. So the other day I posed a question. I said, can you, when we were talking about Andrew Tate recently, I said, can you make a course and teach people how to break the law? And
well, as long as it's in a song,
let's
creative freedom all the way.
Don't they do that in rap songs all the time?
Yes.
Aren't they? They're actually
in
like
this one.
Yeah, but they detail things that happen, maybe not necessarily.
Yeah, that's like a viral thing. People are arresting them for that because they fucking committing
But now
crimes.
that there are legal protections for lyrics that sound incriminating,
but only
you're
in
able to
certain
make a
states.
rap song that gives you a detailed tutorial on how to commit wire fraud.
Let's listen.
Listen up, I'm finna show y'all how to hit a bank. Just pay attention, this a quick way to jug in any state. First you wanna get a bank.
Are we gonna get copyrighted for this? If we do, it's gonna be really funny.
I hope not.
From a trusted site, do your research because the information must be right. You gotta be on point, don't be sitting around trying to get high. Hit a big play, don't get booked for a petty ass crime. Do they got Verizon or they work with Sprint? You gotta know that if you wanna hit this lick, you gotta call up to the company and SIM swap that bitch so you can get the phone calls or text message that they get. You need that so you can log in with the code. But before you do that, make sure that you don't do this wrong. Now let me find out that your dumbass tried to log in through the phone. You gotta change the location into their home. You're gonna need an RDP server. It should come with their IP. You gotta plug it in the server. This might be a little hard, but it's hard being a worker. The bank will get their money back, so ain't nobody hurting. You just got in the account. Don't be getting
Hey, that's the same logic they used in Heat.
when you see the first amount, cause there's a certain way you gotta wire all the money out. Don't be fucking up the player, you gon' sit there down and out. Now you need a runner you can wire all the money to. Make sure you break them off a good amount, they gon' want money too. You might need them for another play, let them run in for you. Some banks be asking hella questions, so it's hard to do. Okay, you SIM swap, got a runner in a bank. Now it's time for you to wipe down all the money that they made. Go and send the wire out, send it
I'm
straight
waiting
to the
for him to
runner's
tell
bank.
us
If
which
you did
banks are
everything
the
right, then it's
easiest
gonna be
to
a
do
piece
this
of
to.
cake. Now that the wire went through, listen up. The money's basically yours if you don't somehow fuck it up. I can't forget my first play, I was somewhere turning up. Make sure you hit it while you can because the ham's gonna burn it up. Have the runner go and inside. All the pay. If it's a big play, have somebody wait outside the bank. Cause they might try to run off, but we don't play about our pay. Imagine doing all that work and someone
This
run
is
off.
a Fed op.
It's totally a Fed.
Is he a Fed?
He's a
This
Fed.
guy's a Fed.
You know what they could do is they could use that for the theme song when they make that. Remember they're going to make that Robin Hood show, the modern day Robin Hood show on the CW. Robin Hood with a Y.
Robin.
Oh,
This
yeah,
could be
yeah.
his hood.
This could be the theme song.
Yeah, there
This
you
could
go.
be the theme song for that.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, guys, that wasn't Cringe of the Day. Decoy Voice.
Said it's genius.
Decoy Voice says can't wait until his album is played during his trial. I don't think, or also remember, did you see we talked about the video recently about the guy who's sitting on the floaty and talks about how you can just open a business account, buy a Rolex, and then go bankrupt on the business account.
Here's this amazing business hack.
Yeah, and he just basically tells you how to commit fraud and
Just create a fake company. Get a loan.
it's amazing. So if you guys want to do that, we can't endorse that, but you shouldn't do that. It's bad. It's not good. But it is the same logic that they use in the movie Heat when he says, look, your money's insured by the bank. You're not going to lose a dime.
Have you seen Hell or High Water? That's the whole purpose of, like, he's robbing from the bank to pay for a mortgage to get the land grant because they got oil on the land.
Believe it or not, I just watched a Walker Texas Ranger episode that did something very similar where a guy's knocking off ATMs and then they find out that the bank, that the ATMs that he's knocking off are the bank that owns that is foreclosing on his house.
Yeah.
So he's paying them back with
All
his
of
own
this
money.
sounds like rap
That's Hell or High
lyrics
Water.
right now.
Yeah,
They
so they
literally
took it
have
from
the.
What year
yeah.
did that come out?
I don't know. It's a Taylor Sheridan film with Chris Pine.
So it's new.
a couple years
Okay.
ago.
Well, this is a Walker Texas
yeah, that's like
Ranger.
2007, I want to say.
He borrowed it then from
probably.
Walker Texas Ranger.
It's a great film. It's
Love
good.
how 2007 is a couple years ago.
Yeah.
to you.
I do love that. I'm more of a boomer every day that my references are from things from the 90s. And it's last time you were here, you're like, oh, so you like boomer television. I'm like, yes, I love boomer television. And it's only getting boomerer as time goes on.
I watched Walker Texas when I was a kid too.
It's great.
That's what you watched on TV. You watched all of the syndication.
Yep.
That's what TV did.
Well, it's one of my big complaints about Hollywood now is that they write all these limited series and stuff like that, which is great, but they forgot how to tell an individual 45-minute story really, really well. Back then, it was so much more fun. It was great. Plus, it was the thing where he could knock somebody out with a single punch. He'd punch them once and they'd be knocked out for 10 minutes. Yeah. It's great. All right, guys, let's go. Do you want to do? Actually, I want to give an update on ISOM number 2. It's almost closing in on $2 million, ladies and gentlemen. $1,884,987. Very, very good.
Which coverage you get?
B.
That's what I got too. Yeah. That's Ethan's, right?
Yep. So let's do cringe and cute. What would you like?
Let's start with cute.
All right. We got a bunch of I asked people yesterday. I was like, everybody's got to submit. So we do a thing here now called Cute of the Day where I have people submit their pets. And people came forth and they submitted. This one I decided first. This one's from Joshua James. He says, at Brett Dasovic, at Mary Archived, today is my birthday. Happy birthday, my friend. I turned 34 today, July 14th. I wanted to share with y'all my 2 kitties, Ella, black and white, and Dolly, orange and white. And we'll put them up on screen here.
Aw.
They're adorable.
They're dapper.
What are they sitting in?
That looks like a clothes hamper.
Oh,
clothes
hamper.
hamper.
Yeah, okay, yeah, there you go.
Yep.
I think I'm going to submit my own cat for cute of the day.
You should.
Yeah.
You should. All right. We got a couple other here. And happy birthday again to Josh. This one is from Opie446 on Twitter. He says, I got my cringe of the day from this morning's culture war. So here's some cute from cute to drown out the puke. Very adorable. Chickens.
Chickens? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Baby chicks.
I have to show loyalty to our chickens.
Yes.
Only our chickens are cute.
Yep. Yeah, you think that's true? I saw that Ivory Hecker is growing, has her own chickens now.
I don't even know how many chickens are out there right now.
And by the way, I also have this one here. Jessica, who does all our artwork here, sent me these this morning.
Okay.
She says,
Oh no.
She says, this is Snowball in a summer lion's cut.
Is that a cat or a dog?
That is a cat. And that's an amazing photo. There's a $20
I almost
one
thought
there.
This was a chihuahua in the first pic.
There's a $20 one there from
I thought they
Francisco
photoshopped the
Sarducci.
cat's face on the dog.
Look at that thing. It's adorable.
I love the tail.
Okay, yeah.
We got one from Francisco Sanchez Jr. He said, I finally saw what this yes thing is. And kind of gross in my opinion. The two women I saw are just copying female anime character mannerisms.
Also, then people were saying it's racism because they're like, if
What?
remember we were talking about that.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Okay, so how do you explain the videos? The yes videos.
Yeah, so there are these women that do live streams on TikTok where they just...
Oh, is that the food eating thing?
Yes.
From yesterday?
Yeah, they
that's
react
gross.
to like the money that people send them in with like stickers,
Yeah.
and they're like,
And they
yes,
eat
yes,
the
yes.
fruit. Yeah,
Yes,
I saw that. Okay.
popcorn. Yes, popcorn.
But
and
apparently they
they
were
like
saying-
pop popcorn with a hair straightener, and it's a wild ride.
I pity those people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
they're making their bag, Queen. So yeah, so we've got that. Now we've also got cringe of
They're
the day.
doing it by debasing themselves, though.
Cringe of the day is cat related as well.
All right, let's do this. All right, so it says couple upset that their cat likes the neighbors. Here we go.
You're keeping it in your
No, I'm
yard,
not.
and it's our cat.
You understand?
Our cat.
I'm not even in my yard right now. What am I doing? The gate's open.
Come on.
Hard.
You're unreasonable people. You're holding our cat.
How? I'm not even in there. I want you to explain how.
If you would go in your yard and say, Mercury, go home. Don't come in our yard anymore.
She
They
will
want
not
you
listen.
to.
She's a cat. She doesn't speak English.
Oh, really? This doesn't mean go home?
No.
Huh?
Hand
Huh?
signals don't mean anything. It's a cat, dude.
Really? Okay. All right. Well, we'll have the police department.
It gets
figure
better.
out.
It gets
Absolutely.
better.
Great
All
idea.
right. No, so the cat doesn't eat and drink anything over there, right?
No.
Oh, no, never. Right? No, never.
No.
No, never.
Never. Yeah,
That
never.
cat right there is not real.
Pervert.
Cat
Where is the
pervert.
cat?
I've done nothing to bring the cat. I've done nothing to bring the. This dude's lost.
Pervert.
This dude, he's lost it. He's lost it. He's lost it.
It's our cat.
He's lost it. He's lost it. Oh no.
Oh no!
My property.
We're calling the police because you're harboring our cat.
Harboring a cat.
Harboring our cat.
Is that a crime? What? It was something
You're a
else.
cat pervert.
I'm a cat pervert?
Yeah, cat
What crime is that? What crime is that?
You know what? There's a crime about you harboring my cat.
What crime is that?
Against the law.
What crime is that?
It's called harboring an animal.
I can understand being angry if my cat was in your yard. You're angry because your cat is in my yard.
You're making things a lot worse. Right? You could just send my cat home.
No, I can't.
That's got to be fake.
Mary, where do you find this stuff?
Twitter.
What depths of the internet must one plumb? Like, I find lots of like horrible videos that are like actual like skits that people make, but you find like real world stuff makes it way worse.
This needs to get on Neighbor Wars.
Where's the cat? We never saw the cat.
Yeah.
They literally never showed the cat. It's kind of
It's in his yard.
It's very
I
disconcerting.
love cat pervert.
Cat pervert. All right, guys, before we get started, now that I've lost all faith in humanity, would you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already? Remember, all Super Chats $20 and over, we will interrupt the discussion. We will read them right then and there, and then we will get right back on topic. So why don't we just get right into it? So this story is insane. It is patently insane, and we're going to discuss today whether you think, I think, they think, whoever thinks this story is real. Mark Wahlberg says that Hollywood PDF files have nowhere left to hide. That's what the article says. He then goes into insane detail about this Christmas party in which a bunch of Hollywood elites got together and did satanic rituals with a child and drank adrenochrome and sacrificed the kid. It's insane. We're going to read through it. Mary, do you want to just give people the rundown on this?
So this article claims that he said this at a Sunday school meeting in Los Angeles recently. And let's just read the quotes from supposedly Mark Wahlberg.
Again, we're
And
here to
by the
discuss
way-
whether this is real or not.
He doesn't live in Los Angeles anymore. He
All
moved
of
his
this-
family.
All of this is quoting someone else, whether it's a fake news journalist or Mark Wahlberg. I am not inciting violence on anyone. Got it, YouTube? Quote, "We are hunting these evil sons of bitches down and taking them out one blood-drinking PDF file at a time," he said. He said that human trafficking in Hollywood is controlled by, quote, sick freaks, and there is a, quote, culture of silence in the industry because everybody understands that speaking out about pedophilia is punishable by death. He also said that Mel Gibson and Jim Caviezel are American heroes with balls of steel for daring to take on the Hollywood system and play their part in raising awareness about this problem. And here he goes into a detailed story of his experience at a Hollywood satanic ritual party that culminated in torture. So he said there were 2 A-list stars at this meeting and 4 Hollywood executives dressed in satanic outfits and masks who were all, quote, drinking blood, high on adrenochrome, and they encouraged him to, quote, stop being a prude and join the club.
Stop being a prude,
by
Mark.
SAing 2 very, very young children. So he explained why didn't he step in and why didn't he, stop this SA from happening.
This is totally fake.
Quote, I'm a father, and all I could think about was that these 2 children should have been safe at home with their parents, but they were in a Hollywood club being preyed on by sadists, PDF files, and perverts who engage in the worst form of evil. Why didn't I kill these guys? I had to think about my children. They are my first priority in this world, and I don't want them to grow up without a father. He also said the whole corrupt Hollywood system, all of the brainwashing and perversion they are pumping out every year, it all begins to make sense when you understand that Hollywood needs young blood to continue operating.
The problem here is that there's enough real world examples of awful behavior in Hollywood to make the general outset of this article believable outside of the ridiculous stuff about satanic rituals.
I mean, you can clearly tell that this is fake, though, when he says, why didn't I kill these guys?
Yes.
But he's making himself look bad.
Yes.
So maybe it's more likely to be true.
I don't think so.
You know?
We already know that this stuff happens, that Epstein Island was a thing, that
right.
Maxwell is in jail for trafficking to no one.
The actual content of what he supposedly said, I'm sure that there are similar stories out there of this ritual abuse happening.
Yep.
In Hollywood and in other circles, in other industries.
I mean, you don't even need to see it as a ritual. I mean, you can see it with people like Megan Fox and what they're doing, and like Charlize Theron, what they're doing with their kids.
Yeah,
right.
or Megan Fox, not just with her kids, but drinking blood with her boyfriend, right?
Or like examples of people in Hollywood, like Dan Schneider, like Harvey Weinstein, all of these people. Like, it's not that far fetched, but if this turns out to be true, and we're one of the first people like covering it, I'm gonna be really happy.
It points to the absurdity of the world we live in now, where it's like we talk about this when we talk about Andrew Tate, where at a certain point I've just disconnected and I'm like, is he guilty? Maybe not, but I don't really have a way of knowing. Therefore, I can only judge based on what I see, what is actually in front of me. So it's like I can interact with his content and understand that he might be an awful person. I don't know that. I can't know that for sure. Do I have my doubts about his validity as a good person? Sure, plenty. Just like within Hollywood, right?
Mark Wahlberg, you mean?
No,
I'm
talking about Andrew Tate. So I'm saying, so it's like with all things in this industry, all things within news now, you have to take everything with a gigantic grain of salt and realize that as absurd as most of what is said in this story sounds, it's not that far off from what has already been proven in other cases. So then it's just about the story itself, this individual story maybe being false, and then making a problem for all of the true stories that come out later, right? Because these are the stories, if false, that CNN and MSNBC will push to show you, like, look at this. It's QAnon.
Another quote.
Look at these people.
The only way I can honor the children is to dedicate my life to eradicating this evil from the face of the earth. And the only way to do that is if all of you go see Sound of Freedom. No, I added that part myself. But that's the point, really, on what you were saying, Brett. We don't go see Sound of Freedom because we personally believe in the virtue and character of Jim Caviezel or Mel Gibson or Tim Ballard, even, the guy it's based on. It's because of the overall message of the film and that it's bringing awareness to a larger issue. We don't really care who is even going up to see it. If it were a bunch of QAnon conspiracy theorists going to see this movie, that wouldn't actually taint the content of what it's calling awareness to.
Yeah, it doesn't make it any. It doesn't denote any type of statement one way or the other. It's either
they just
a
say
good movie or
it appeals to the wrong people.
Yep.
Just like with The Boys,
And
it
then
appeals to the wrong crowd.
then you're guilty by association.
Content's bad.
Yeah.
Then you're guilty by association.
Yeah.
Like with stories like this,
It's about to be one of the top 10 movies in the domestically though.
Yeah.
If it keeps going the way it is.
well, and I mean, just like what you mentioned with Top Gun Maverick, that if it has strong holds week after week, it's not going to make $100 million, but it's going to make a good amount of money.
I think it's possible it could do 100 million. It's already over 50.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
How
it's
about
just been out a
this
week.
part about Elijah
little over a
Wood?
week.
Do you think this part about Elijah Wood is
I think they're
true?
using that to provide credibility because I think he has said something about that
Elijah Wood-
previously, but I'm not. I'd have to look that up.
It says, according to Elijah Wood, innocent young lives are destroyed to satisfy people with parasitic interests who see you as their prey. In an interview with the Sunday Times, he dropped a series of bombshells about PDF files that run the industry, noting that, quote, clearly something major was going on in Hollywood. It was all organized. Yeah, and there are other instances of this, like Isaac Cappy,
Yeah.
like people in the industry who
Corey
have
Feldman.
that inside knowledge.
Yeah, they cite him on here too.
Yeah. Corey literally, Kevin Spacey is on trial right now in the UK, calling himself a flirt because he abuses men, and he has a long history of abusing people in Hollywood that were very, very young.
He's just a flirt.
He's just a
Brett.
flirt. He's Italian. He's basically he's like Cuomo. He's like I'm not a pedophile. I'm Italian. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, you've got the whole Cosby thing too. I mean, there's lots of examples.
So it's like if this story is fake and this conversation never happened, like I said, I would love to see an actual video of him saying this stuff if it's
Well,
true.
Even if this were recorded on video, it would not be able to get posted on YouTube anyway. Like that wouldn't be allowed on YouTube.
It'd find a way. You get it on Twitter
It would be
or something like
somewhere.
that.
Yeah,
Right.
you'd see it on Twitter.
TikTok maybe.
Well, I'm waiting to see the proof.
I mean, I think the fact that I don't think he actually I don't think he lives in LA anymore. He's done
Las
interviews
Vegas-
where he moves
Las
his
Vegas.
kid to Nevada. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
He can fly to LA for a speaking appearance. You
I
know,
mean-
it's plausible. I'm kidding.
I mean, it's actually probably likely that he has homes in both places. He probably has some place that he stays in Los Angeles while he's there.
I
think he
also
moved
saw
out completely,
Ashton
that's what it seemed.
Kutcher's name was trending on Twitter this morning, and I went down the most insane rabbit hole known to man. The fake news was crazy, but people were reposting this testimony that he gave in 2017 before the U.S. Senate, addressing the issue of child sex trafficking. Do you want to take a look at it?
Do you want to play? Should we play the clip on Twitter?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go,
My
guys.
day job
Hold
is
on.
as the chairman and the co-founder of Thorn.
This is an old video.
We build software to fight human trafficking and the sexual exploitation of children. And that's our core mission. My other day job is that of the father of two, a 2-month-old and a 2-year-old. And as part of that job that I take very seriously, I believe that it is my effort to defend their right to pursue happiness and to ensure a society and government that defends it as well. But the right to pursue happiness for so many is stripped away. It's raped. It's abused. It's taken by force, fraud, or coercion. It is sold for the momentary happiness of another. I've seen video content
It's not happiness either. That's
of a child that's the same age as mine being raped by an American man that was a sex tourist in Cambodia. And this child was so conditioned by her environment that she thought she was engaging in play. I've been on the other end of a phone call from my team.
That's true too. I've read a number of accounts about that.
Asking for my help because we had received a call from the Department of Homeland Security telling us that a 7-year-old girl was being sexually abused and that content was being spread around the dark web. And she had been being abused and they'd watched her for 3 years and they could not find the perpetrator. Asking us for help. We were the last line of defense. An actor and his foundation were the potential last line of defense. That's my day job, and I'm sticking to it. Can we build the tools that are better than their tools to fight what's happening? there are sites in the United States that do this other than Backpage, a lot of them, in fact. There are sites internationally that are doing this. There are other sites. It's happening all over the place. It's been happening for decades in print media. We're now just recognizing it for what it is, and I think that that's the most important part. And secondarily to that is let's build the tools, let's finance the tools, and let's deploy the tools to fight back.
I mean, last night we saw Tim Ballard was on IRL, and the people who came in, a lot of people want to fight this stuff. This is from 2017, right?
Yeah.
Last night Tim Ballard was on IRL, and Tim basically said like they offered up. He said, donate whatever you donate in Super Chats right now. I will double it and donate it to your foundation. Mm-hmm. They raised $24,000 in just minutes, and Tim wrote him a check for $50,000.
Awesome.
So seeing stuff like that is very, very encouraging. But you went down a rabbit hole with this.
Yeah, and there are other, I wanted to mention, there are other celebrities, although they're few and far between, other than the Jim Caviezel's and Mel Gibsons of the world that care about this issue. Yeah. Blake Lively is one of them. Yeah. She did a speech raising awareness about
She's
CP.
like, sure, my husband works for Disney, but, you know.
I mean, Tim Tebow has a foundation, too. He's, like, building safe houses as well, I think in, like, Thailand.
But as I scrolled after I looked at this video this morning, I found a lot of conflicting reports about Ashton Kutcher. One person said, news alert, Ashton Kutcher is preparing to expose the Hollywood child sex trafficking empire. Not sure if that's true. I kept scrolling, and apparently Ashton Kutcher is a child trafficker himself. And he also he murdered his girlfriend in 2001, according to other people on Twitter. And he's also trans. So I just don't know what to believe anymore. That kind of threw me for a loop. And apparently Demi Moore is also trans and a child trafficker.
It's that G.I. Jane movie. I always suspected that G.I. Jane wasn't as stunning and brave as they made it out to be.
But I also wanted to mention, I saw this, apparently this is an old picture, but this was a picture that Selena Gomez took with the producer of Sound of Freedom. She was involved in an organization called A21, which fights against human trafficking. She took a picture with Eduardo
Verástegui.
Verástegui? That's how you say it?
I think so.
The producer of Sound of Freedom, during a screening of the movie in Los Angeles. And they screened that movie years and years ago when it was already done.
2018, I think.
In 2018.
When it was still 20th Century Fox.
But she's suspiciously silent about the movie now that it's out. Weird to me. I have doubts about the integrity of a lot of celebrities if they know about this issue and they're not willing to speak on it.
Well, I think the biggest point in the Mark Wahlberg thing that's the most ridiculous is like, why didn't I do anything about it? He's like, yes, you do have your own kids, but you could have called the cops, bro. Like, that's the biggest part to doubt.
Even if that story is true, that would mean that, you know, this is such a systemic issue that just calling the cops would do literally nothing to stop.
It is a systemic issue, though. I mean, there was a whistleblower that she was in Congress just in April. She said there's 85,000 children that have been missing that have come across the border that they have no idea where they are.
And calling the cops if you witness something or if you don't, I mean, it kind of proves useless even when, you know.
I mean, she was saying that she accused the DHS of being the middleman.
I mean, didn't the CIA just take over the drug trade anyways in Iraq and Afghanistan,
there are a lot of good
supposedly?
people that are complicit in evil things, and that's a story as long as human history goes back.
And here's a good point. LA Times and New York Times critics both refuse to review Sound of Freedom. You can't even find anything on the websites about the movie because...
As well as the Hollywood Reporter.
Exactly, because
the Hollywood Reporter has done some coverage on that. I saw Pamela McClintock did something.
So, but I think it's funny because the same thing's happening. I was just listening to a video.
I don't know if they published a review, though.
I was watching a video from Zach from Comics Matter, and he's talking about how you can go to comic book resources and there's nothing about the Rippaverse, which is like the biggest thing in the industry right now, because if people in your industry just choose not to talk about something, you do a lot of damage, not by making allegations to the contrary. You do a lot of damage just by not talking about something at all. So just by being silent, they are doing more damage to this movie than if they were actually talking about it. I would argue that a lot of the, like we showed yesterday, the ridiculous things about nanobots in Sound of Freedom viewers' drinks, like that stuff draws attention to the movie, and that gives it good publicity, whether you like it, whether they like it or not. It's good for the name recognition of the film. Just by being silent, these news outlets actually do damage to it because it's not fair. It's big news. It should be talked about.
Yeah, they don't want their audiences to even know about it.
Yeah. It says, in the case of the New York Times, Sound of Freedom has effectively been wiped off the face of the earth. Not only has the paper of record declined to review the movie, it does not mention the movie in any form in its entertainment reporting, not even a box office report, a search of the site shows. So, they don't want you talking about it. There was the thing about the Rolling Stone reporter, Rolling Stone actually made them be very, very quiet about one of their own editors, one of their own workers who got in trouble for very, very bad things with children. And it's pervasive in the industry. But articles like that, articles like this one about Mark Wahlberg, it's what I talk about with when Jim Caviezel was talking about this report. It's like, look, it's just a lot harder for a person who doesn't know anything about this stuff to swallow when they hear the stuff about adrenochrome and they hear the stuff about child sacrifice. They have a lot harder time buying into that than they should just hearing about, the awful things that happen to kids on a daily basis because of human trafficking, right? Like when you start getting into satanic rituals, people start to check. I think that the average person starts to check out a little bit because it sounds like the stuff of fiction.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, there might be people that are like, what is really going on? What is this movie really about? Let me go check it out too.
You would hope.
I think some people might completely check out like this is an absolute joke. It can't be serious. And then there's other people that are like, what's really going on?
Did you guys write a review for the site?
We have one. I don't know if we've published it yet.
Yep. Did you go see it?
I have not seen it yet. I asked my wife if she wanted to go see it with me, and she was like, I don't want to be exposed to that type of content.
Yeah. I mean, it's not graphic. It is. They do a very good job of.
It's still about child trafficking and stuff like that. So.
Yep. So, I don't know.
I probably will see it eventually, but I just have been very busy.
Very, very busy. So the Mark Wahlberg, I'm going to keep my eyes open and hope for some type of information on whether or not this actually happened. But we'll wait and see.
Maybe Tim brings him on when they're promoting that new Mel Gibson movie that he's going to be in.
And we'll be like, hey, so can you tell me about this thing, like the party where...
Yeah.
the Christmas party. Yeah. I'm literally picturing like Bob Iger in like a Santa outfit, like doing some type of weird satanic ritual, and it's making my blood curdle. So let's go to Super Chats, shall we?
Rockstar Podcast said, did you hear Roseanne Barr recently claimed that Donald Trump is the first woman president of the United States? God bless her. It's like when Joan Rivers
it's the orange
talks
hair,
about
right?
Michelle Obama.
It's the orange hair.
Yep.
Yeah. Corey Anderson, I don't think I'm going to read that.
All right, let's do one more and then we'll move on.
Said, from nanobots to microplastics, Mary, sheesh.
Sheesh.
Yeah, here are my microplastics for the day. Got to get in your daily dose.
Yep. I said the same thing the last time I was on IRL. They were literally talking about microplastics, and everybody there had like a glass water bottle, and I'm just sitting here with my crackling
you
plastic
take
water bottle.
Crystal geysers and just slowly lower it from the table.
No, I crunched and opened it and drank. I drank with pride. I'm like, no, microplastics all the way. Let's do this.
Federally recommended dosage for the day.
All right, guys, let's move on. Let's talk about the actors' strike, which is going on right now. The thing that I've had the most struggle when talking about the actors' strike has been mostly in relation to the fact that it's been very hard to talk to them and get a solid idea about what exactly they have a problem with. I know it's got a lot to do with artificial intelligence for the actors now. Also, it's about residuals in the streaming model.
You don't need to know about it in detail to talk about it. It's just that streaming obviously has changed the business and they want to get paid more.
Yes. And
they say AI is a sticking point. And Fran Drescher is very impassioned when she talks about it.
I think they're going to lose on this. I don't think that the studios are going to budge on AI, not in any meaningful way.
They're going to get everyone to watch that episode of the new Black Mirror season where this girl finds out that she was, her AI replica was used to defame her on Netflix, Streamberry. And then you found out at the end all along the whole episode was AI generated. Whatever.
Should we watch the Fran Drescher clip, the 1 minute and 41 second Fran Drescher
Sure,
clip?
let's
watch
go
that.
for
Let's
it.
watch this. Here we go, guys. Here she is, being very impassioned.
I cannot believe it, quite frankly. How far apart we are on so many things. How they plead poverty, that they're losing money left and right when giving hundreds of millions of dollars to their CEOs. It is disgusting. Shame on them. They stand on the wrong side of history at this very moment. We stand in solidarity, in unprecedented unity. Our union and our sister unions and the unions around the world are standing by us, as well as other labor unions. Because at some point, the jig is up. You cannot keep being dwindled and marginalized and disrespected and dishonored. The entire business model has been changed by streaming, digital, AI. This is a moment of history that is a moment of truth.
I don't even know what that
If
means.
we don't stand tall right now, we are all going to be in trouble. We are all going to be in jeopardy of being replaced by machines and big business.
Our gerbs.
Who cares more about Wall Street
coming
than you
for our
and your family? Most of Americans don't have more than $500
Wait.
in an emergency.
So what you're saying is that she's like the Americans of past were racist. Does that make her machinist for not being a fan?
Discriminating against robots.
They're taking her gerbs, so she's upset about it. Look, Fran Drescher is worth $25 million, and you have a very hard time.
Donald Trump, who is going to clean your toilets.
Yes, like they're going to have a very hard time getting the average person when it's the big name actors that are pushing this, and not the small time actors that aren't rich millionaires. I imagine if I was a plumber, I wouldn't really have a lot in common or think I have a lot in common with Fran Drescher in these things. And when they say that they're giving these CEOs unprecedented bonuses and they're making record profits, no, they're spending record amounts of money on productions for things that don't seem to pull a great return on investment. Then they just end up having to lay people off, like Disney constantly now laying people off left and right.
But she is right that they're getting bonuses for failed product.
The CEOs get their bonuses, but $100 million, let's put it into perspective. We just did the story the other day where Katie Sackhoff says that the budget for the catering in The Mandalorian is more than all of Battlestar Galactica. $100 million for Bob Iger. If what was his contract was $25 million or $23 million or something like that, with bonuses $50 million or something like that. Secret Invasion cost $212 million to make. So what do you want me to do? Like, you're spending tons of money on stuff that people aren't watching. The writing is garbage. Your actors are activists and your writers are whiners and complainers. I'm not saying that there aren't things that don't need to be changed. I'm saying that you've lost the goodwill of the public that you might have had 20 years ago.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you with that. I definitely think that it's hard to be sympathetic towards them because of the activism that they say here. But I mean, I don't know if you want to get into this already, but we have seen some of these lower level actors talk about how the Walt Disney Company came to the union and wanted to just scan all of the background actors, the people that aren't like Matt Damon or Angelina Jolie or Margot Robbie or whatever the A-list people you want to say are, and they just want to scan them one time, use their image, and then use it in perpetuity, and only pay them like a minimal fee, and basically never have to hire background actors again, because you can just do that with artificial intelligence. So I do see the complaints there, and there is definitely a battle between labor and capital. It's been going on for way longer than I've been alive. And this is just another point in it. And I do think that I do think she makes some points there. I mean, you were just pointing out how Bob Iger is the one who's approving all of these massive productions, and it's not returning. And they're the ones that chose to change the model and everything like that. And they're the ones that chose to lose all this money. And you're still getting money for that. So
I don't think that was really part of her conceit there. Like, she wasn't talking about how the projects aren't returning on investment. She's just saying we're
Well,
victims. They're victimizing us.
That was Brett's point.
And
yeah.
it's very intentional that she's using language that's not about her own industry, but just like, we're standing with all laborers across the country. And this is a moment in history where we're all standing together. The A-list Hollywood stars and the plumbers are on the same side in this issue.
Maybe she should learn to code.
Yeah.
I was told you should learn to code.
Learn to code.
I was told they should learn to code.
She was definitely
Those are the journalists.
utilizing her acting chops to drum up more support. And I can tell that it's taking everyone on social media like so easily. They're all applauding it. So it skews my perspective on like whether people sympathize with her in real life.
Yeah, I mean, for me, those are like, I expect that it's a labor union speech coming out announcing a strike. You're going to have lots of platitudes. You're going to have a lot of like typical labor union talking points like that. So that doesn't really surprise me or anything like that. As far as like winning people over, I do think that there is a massive sentiment. I mean, I'm here with the same building that Tim Pool is, and he was the one. I mean, he got his big claim to fame covering the Occupy. The Occupy, yeah, thank you. So I still think that there's some sentiment to that there too, where you have a lot of people that are just like fed up with these corporations. And like, I mean, you just pointed it out too, Brett. You were saying how these corporations are like creating all this like absolutely garbage product, expecting us to like slurp it up, and they're the ones trying to like, I don't know, just keep making more of it and keep it going. So I don't know.
But it's not just
I'm a
that.
little rambling there. But
the problem is, for me, is not only is the product bad, but the actors say all the wrong things when they lead up to the release of these projects, right? They disrespect the source material of all the things that are being put out. Well, those are the ones who, whether they like it or not, they speak for everyone. Say. So if anything, the smaller actors with less. I'm
not trying to defend the actors. I'm just trying to point out that there's also there is like a legitimate sentiment against like a lot of these like massive corporations taking over everything, and it's not just in Hollywood. You see that across a lot of different industries. But the issue with Hollywood is because they have these actors that are just say the most awful, terrible things, are part of the most awful, terrible products. It is hard to sympathize with them.
It is funny too, because I hear different stories about residuals too, right? Like I've heard stories where people get like the guy who, like, if you're in something really, really big, then the residuals are great, right? Like the dude who voiced Simba, I believe, in The Lion King.
James Earl Jones. Simba. Sorry.
Like he chose one of the characters. It might not have been Simba, but one of the characters basically said that they offered him like $10 million. He said no to the $10 million and took the residuals instead. Right. And he's made insane amounts of money since then.
Yeah, that's from the 90s. I think they totally changed that with streaming, and I think that's what the labor union wants to do. I mean, we have a report. I don't know if we published it yet on the site, but I guess one of the She-Hulk writers actually says they've only made like $400 or something like that from residuals on the show. So I mean, don't get me wrong. I think She-Hulk is an abomination. I don't recommend anyone watching it. I haven't watched it myself.
But how do you verify the numbers on something like that?
The writer reported it.
No, I'm saying, but how do they how do they verify that, like, what the residual, where the residuals come from, if Disney isn't required to release that information?
So that
They just have to take their word for it?
Right. So I think that's one of the things that we've seen with the writers and also with the actors. They want to know what's going on with these streaming numbers. They want to see what that is. They want to see some transparency, because I do think a lot of these companies are hiding. The only one who seems to be somewhat transparent is Netflix.
The guy who wrote Squid Game wrote an article or did like a thing where he talked about how I sold the show to Netflix for a pittance and it made all this money. I'm like, you sold it.
Right.
You made that choice to do so.
Yeah.
You don't have, like, the problem is the big name actors, especially in the AI debate, the big name actors are going to come out of that really well.
They've already done it. Yeah. I mean, James Earl Jones has, I think, already sold
and Bruce Willis.
his voice and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, the interviews, they talk about like, oh, they scanned me and then they're going to use that image or whatever. Harrison Ford was talking about it all the time with Indiana Jones.
Yep.
So I saw a tweet from a screenwriter on some Disney Plus show. He didn't say which one it was, because then you'd be able to tell if it was successful or not. The Disney Plus show that he wrote on got taken off the platform and he stopped receiving residuals from it.
That's the whole point of
that.
Yeah. So they got tax write-off and then they don't have to pay any more as well.
That's just how the industry works now. And, I agree that, streaming platforms were this promise that you'd have this endless library of all the old content that you want to watch, and it never goes away. And it does, because they cancel shows and remove shows all the time. They even edit shows from their
licensing
past
deals and stuff like that. That's the way it always was, even with Netflix before they all decided to make their own.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, that was the great thing about Netflix when it first started, right? Because they had access to almost everything because everyone was just licensing out to Netflix before they then it just
seems
became
to
like
be
cable again.
With that, it does seem to be coming back to that. I mean, you're seeing Sony is still doing licensing deals with that. I mean, 65's on there. There's a report that Warner Brothers is thinking about moving HBO shows over to Netflix as well to license that. And they already do stuff with Prime Video where you can purchase it through Prime and stuff like that. So there is stuff like moving that. It just seems like Disney they're really stupid. And they decided not to do that anymore, and it doesn't seem like they are. Even Paramount licensed their Yellowstone stuff to Peacock, which is NBC.
I watched it on Peacock.
Right. So so you have stuff like that. There are deals. That stuff is still happening.
Even Netflix, the show Longmire, which Netflix bought from a network on television, is on Peacock. So they licensed it out, and that was one of their what they called a Netflix original, right? So look, it's like I said, I can't know the ins and outs of these deals. I do know that these actors and these writers have spent the last decade and a half saying literally all the wrong things, producing all the wrong content. There have been a handful of really, really great shows in the last decade or so. I don't see a lot of those people complaining.
So this is a theory, and I don't know if I actually agree with it. I've seen it posited, though, and a lot of the stuff that you hear from these actors is coming from the companies, and they think it's the company's PR doing it. We've seen this, though. We have some evidence of this with Gina Carano. When she was let go from Lucasfilm, from the Walt Disney Company, it was the company pressuring her to do the struggle session with everything like that. It was the company trying to get her to issue an apology. And we've even seen stuff from the Hollywood Reporter where we've had PR agents and talent managers and stuff like that. They're the ones that are saying like, hey, the companies are telling us to do this, so we're advising our talent to do this as well, to push left-wing politics, to stay away from anything on the right or whatever you want to call it, stay away from that stuff. So I think a lot of this comes top down. I don't think a lot of it is bottom up. I think if you had different people in charge of a lot of companies, different people in the government, obviously too, because I think a lot of it's coming from the government. You would see a change in tone and what people were saying and stuff like that too. So, but that's not to say there aren't like crazy Hollywood celebrities too. Like obviously we cover that all the time at Bounty into Comics, reported on a lot. But I think it's just a very complex issue. And it's not just like, oh, actors are all bad, like stuff like that.
I can go ahead and say it. Actors are all bad. No.
Well, I legitimately don't want AI to replace real movies or real actors. I don't want that because that will make the products even more soulless than they are now.
Yes.
Undoubtedly. So, but I think that when they say AI replacement is a sticking point in the strike, they're kind of overplaying it. They just have more selfish motivations than they're willing to say out loud. You know,
like I don't buy that Fran Drescher cares what happens. Like McDonald's workers are like first time.
You're not you're not Tom Cruise trying to defeat the AI overlords taking over the world.
No, like people have been watching their jobs be taken away by automation for decades, and actors never gave a crap when that happened.
Right.
They're only
Now
caring
there's the looming threat. It will affect your industry. That's when you care about defending the other laborers.
Here's the deal. When eventually Tim gets an AI and he replaces me with a less annoying version of me.
He would replace himself before he ever replaced us.
Well, if he wants this show to continue and he's like, we got to find a less stuttery, less annoying version of Brett and we're going to create it with AI, I will make sure to live and die by this sword that I will not complain that I have been removed and replaced by AI. I will not say that the Terminator is taking my gerb, that it's just, it's the way of the world and you got to go out and make it on their own. It's kind of like when the journalists weren't able to make the transition to YouTube, so they just get mad at YouTubers, right? They just get mad at YouTubers who do something different than them.
Who are still doing their jobs better than they do to this day.
Yeah. And I just, it's always hard for me to buy into these rich celebrities. Like I said, Fran Drescher's worth $25 million. A lot of these actors, too, also own their own production companies now, so they're on both sides of the argument. One of the big reasons to hire Margot Robbie to make the Barbie movie is because she's not just Margot Robbie, the actress. She's Margot Robbie, the film producer
with her Lucky Chap company.
And look at Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is now a bona fide, and it's the same thing that they do with a lot of actors. Like if an actor's on a television show, especially network television, for a several years, that lead actor eventually becomes an executive producer on the show, right? Because
Yeah, you saw that with Mandalorian with Rick Famuyiwa, or I'm butchering his name, but he was one of the directors and then became executive producer in the second season.
Yeah.
One of the things that I do think is interesting about this stuff, though, too, is that we are seeing almost a return to the linear model, because you're seeing Netflix explore ad tiers. We already have ad tiers on Max.
It should be illegal.
Disney's
All of it
officially
should
doing ad
force me
tiers.
to. You should be forced to charge. Ads should be against the law. I'm just saying. I'm not one for government regulation, but if we could outlaw ads in media, I'd be great.
I think certain ads definitely should be
all ads.
more circumspect.
Yeah, Tacti Platty mentions Mark Harmon on NCIS. Yeah, he said as much as he made a lot more just by becoming a producer on that show, and that's the way to go, right? You can you've already got the money and the infrastructure, you might as well become a producer and making a larger return on investment. But it
usually gives you more creative control too, and there's other things you can be involved in there.
Yep, and look, here's the other sad fact of the matter, and I mentioned this yesterday. We don't live in the era of the 2007 writer's strike anymore. Reality TV shows are even more prevalent. They're even more prominent. And you're not losing the kids. The kids are just going to go watch YouTube.
Yeah.
The kids are just going to go watch TikTok.
And the adults are going to watch reruns of the shows that they like from when Hollywood wasn't a universal dumpster fire.
Like Me TV.
Is it even more John
when
Wayne?
Fran Drescher is screaming that the studios can't exist without us and our creativity and artistry. First of all, I don't believe that these actors, at least the most well-established ones, care about the integrity of their artistic output, whatever. But also, that's not true. The studios can survive without them, at least for the time being. Longer than they can go without, paying their bills.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
I think there was
based on their library of content that was made before this.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there was a report in the Hollywood Reporter basically saying, I don't know if they named the studio executive, but they might have been anonymous, but they were basically like, yeah, we're going to make sure we're going to keep the strike going until these people are homeless.
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. I was and then people,
which is not going to affect Fran Drescher.
And then people get mad because they're like, heartless corporation. I'm like, I've been saying this long before I had any type of political care as far as politics. I just always thought it was weird when people expected corporations to act like people. I'm like, it's a corporation. Its job, its sole purpose is to make profit, which is hilarious considering Hollywood in the age of ESG now doesn't seem all that concerned with making a profit most of the time. So you're getting what you have coming to them. They're getting what they have coming to them.
Yeah, I think that's like a bigger issue in society at large, right? Where greed is kind of controlling things. Because I definitely think there's companies and corporations out there that aren't just about trying to exploit their workers and everything like that to try and create a profit. They're maybe actually trying to create something good. Obviously, you want to create a profit so you can keep expanding and reinvesting and stuff like that. But I do think that there are companies and corporations, especially a lot of small businesses that are owning a diner, or they've got some innovative product that they're trying to sell. Like lawn care, stuff like that. Those people are just trying to feed their families too, and feed their employees' families.
On the other hand, the actors' strike is just massively overplaying its hand. They're bluffing, or they at least ought to know that this is not going to work out for them.
I don't know how it works out. If somebody like Tom Cruise gets involved and says, "Look, I want to be able to promote Mission Impossible 2 Dead Reckoning when it comes out,"
right.
that's going to matter, right? Eventually enough big movies will have to get moved because they won't be able to do promotion for it. Or maybe it just makes them smarter and they start marketing like Barbie's doing with things that have nothing to do with actors, like big Barbie dream houses or pink TARDISes in the middle of London. They'll just find ways to market without the actors.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
They made a whole Flash movie, and then they're like, "Whoops, can't have Ezra Miller do any of the press because he's a criminal."
Right.
I guess we'll have to find other ways.
They didn't even put him in the trailers.
With merchandising.
Yep.
That's Barbie's been huge with the merchandising, obviously.
Well, and that's the other reason when I talk about CEOs and their money, they think about these people and they think of Bob Iger and all they think about is Marvel and Star Wars.
Right.
They don't realize that he oversees a lot more than just the movies and the television shows that you like. He's responsible for a lot more moving parts than that.
ESPN, the parks, etc.
Yeah. So in fact, you know what? Let's go ahead and just get right into it then. Let's talk about Bob Iger, because now that we've crapped on the actors, let's crap on the CEOs as well, because they're just as annoying and stupid. They're all dumb, ladies and gentlemen. The Walt Disney Company CEO Bob Iger claims the notion that Disney is in any way sexualizing our children, quite frankly, is preposterous and inaccurate.
So he was asked a question on CNBC in this interview,
Yep.
saying, "We put the company on a pedestal, but they've really embraced the idea of getting these sexualized content in the program line that I'm not really to cross." That's what DeSantis said. How do you respond to that? And he said, do you want to just play the clip of his response? He's really good at answering these questions.
Is it linked in here?
Yeah.
He sounds good until you realize that everything he's saying is a lie.
Is it in the article or is it?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's right there.
Okay.
It's like right below the first picture.
Okay. Hold on.
There was an article in the Wall Street Journal that seemed to indicate that people aren't going to Disney
I'm not gonna full screen.
World at the rate that they did certainly a year ago. And your fight with the governor there, or his fight with you. Is he having an impact, do you think, on attendance, his continued criticism of the company?
No, we see no sign of that.
The question
at
that
all.
Mary
The
actually brings up,
article
I think, is later on in the interview.
Okay.
that you referred to was not accurate, actually. It was measuring attendance at Disney World on July 4th, which didn't really
So this is the
factor
Marvel
in
stuff first.
temperature, which is
In the
about
park.
100 degrees and 99% humidity on that day. But there are other factors as well. One.
Oh wait, it was hot in Florida in
Yeah.
the summer.
No
Yeah.
way.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Do we want to just keep watching the whole thing, or do we want to watch through part?
Yeah, so the first part, he basically just talks about the park in this Wall Street Journal article that's saying that the park attendance is down year over year for the most part, and incites like a bunch of studies, basically people that track attendance lines and things like that.
I also
And
love
he's
that
trying
he-
to dispute that article.
He dismisses the fact that it's just way more expensive now than it was before, right? Like he dismisses the impact.
He throws some shade at Bob Chapek for starting,
he doesn't like
essentially
Bob Chapek
starting this
anymore.
dispute with DeSantis. He said,
he's the one who started it, though.
Frankly, the company was within its right, even though I'm not sure it was handled very well.
Right.
It was within its right to speak up on an issue, constitutionally protected right of free speech, and to retaliate against the company in a way that would be harmful to the business was not something that we could sit back and tolerate. So we have filed a lawsuit to protect our First Amendment rights there and to protect our business.
$20 super chat there from Disco Jensen with no message whatsoever. Thank you. And a $20 super chat from Beanbag Actual with no message whatsoever. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
In your silence.
Thank you. Strong silent type.
And he said the other issues that you reference, the last thing that we want for the company is for the company to be drawn into any culture wars. We've operated for almost 100 years as a company, making product that we're actually proud of in terms of its impact on the world. You know, I joke every once in a while that we're there to manufacture fun. We're there to tell great stories.
Well, that's debatable.
They had him address Nazis showing up outside of Disney World, which I had never heard about before.
There's like 4 people.
It's such a nothing burger.
Yeah.
Probably was set up by Disney themselves.
But yeah, I just want to point out he's the guy that actually kind of pushed Chapek to get involved in the Florida legislation, the Parental Rights in Education Act, which he refuses to name.
Even when he wasn't in
Yeah.
in
So
power.
there's a report. Well, he still was like involved in the company, but he wasn't CEO at that point. But he was tweeting. He was telling them to get involved on his Twitter. It's still there. And
There's really a double speak here when he says it is not our goal to be involved in a culture war. Our goal is to continue to tell wonderful stories and have a positive impact on the world. If you're trying to have any kind of social impact, that necessarily involves you in the culture war, whether you want to call it that
That's just
or
a
not.
lie also.
Oh, yeah.
They talk
That
all
is
the
a lie.
time
Yeah,
about
he's a liar.
Reimagine Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like they talk all the time about actually wanting to change the world and make it in its own image.
And then he
so
said,
he's lying.
the notion that Disney is in any way sexualizing our children, quite frankly, is preposterous and inaccurate.
Yeah, I mean, so like everything the way he presents himself, it sounds very like he knows what he's talking about. He's very prepared. He's ready for these questions. He's probably if he didn't get them already beforehand, he's been prepared for similar questions. And so he's kind of ready for them. But at the end of the day, when you hear his answers and you actually like look up what Disney's been doing, you have observed what Disney's been doing with your own eyes. Like it's patently he's lying on like literally every answer.
Well, in case anyone is still in need of convincing, can you tell us what those examples are?
Yeah, so when he's talking about sexualizing kids, just look at the content that they've been putting out there. They literally have Pride Days through their parks pretty much all the time. They promoted one in Disneyland this past June, just last month. There's they have like a drag queen show someone sent me the other day, which I hadn't even seen that they're doing. There's the Zombieland 3, I think that's what it's called, Zombieland 3 movie, which is clearly promoting gender identity ideology. You then have all of the Reimagine Tomorrow videos that
Yes, crisis party.
Yes.
Thank you.
There we go.
I asked and I received. I said, let's get John a crisis party. Woo! See, why would you want to go watch a movie in Hollywood when you can just watch this? Continue.
I think that's a new song from
It
last
is.
time. Yeah, we got a new one.
So you were on Reimagine Tomorrow.
Yeah, so Reimagine Tomorrow, you have all of those videos leaked from Christopher Rufo where you have these executives literally admitting that they're trying to put in this stuff into the content that they're creating. You have one of them, LaToya Ravenew, literally says she's putting in a not at all secret gay agenda into
That was her
the
name,
show. You've got the head of Disney General Entertainment, Carrie Burke, talks about how she has a transgender and a pansexual children, and she needs to like put that stuff front and center now in the content that she's doing, not just have them be ancillary background characters. We need to start centering stories on these types of characters. You have another person named Alan March saying that they literally have a tracker that they created for the Moon Girl TV show that's aimed at like young children, that's supposedly tracking what the specific like gender identity characters in the show, where how they're using the show, and then like so we can then make them more centered, make them more focused and stuff like that. So and then you also have Vivian Ware in that as well, who's like the head of one of their heads of diversity, their DEI department, talking about how they're literally calling children boys and girls when they enter the park, and removing all of that stuff from the parks, removing gendered language. And so now they're calling them dreamers and stuff like that. And that's clear promotion of that quote unquote transgender ideology, trying to remove the distinction between men and women.
That's all the sexual and gender identity related stuff, but there's also like the race baiting in the Proud Family.
Yeah, and then even if you want to get into sexualization and stuff like that, you have the guy from Riverdale who was a Disney star. He played Archie's like best friend. I can't remember, Jughead. He played Jughead, and he was basically like, yeah, Disney's literally sexualizing all these young girls on their shows. Look, Hannah Montana.
Cole Sprouse?
Yeah, Cole. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. But
he said that on Call Her Daddy, I think.
Yeah. But Cole Sprouse, like you look at Hannah Montana, you look at Wizards of Waverly Place, you can look at the
career trajectory of all of their former child stars.
Demi Lovato, look at how she's turned out, Britney Spears, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, they're clearly doing this. There's another, I can't remember his name right now. We covered it like a couple years ago. He had filed like a lawsuit, I think, against the Walt Disney Company, basically saying that Disney executives were, when he was a child, plying him with alcohol and taking him to parties where he was abused.
And like ostensibly the culture war as we know it started in like current year, right? Like 2015, that's how people think of it.
Yeah.
Or maybe 2012-ish. But it's not that all of a sudden everyone decided like Disney was blameless and pure prior to this year and now it's all evil. You're just calling attention to what's been going on for decades and decades behind closed doors.
Yeah, and then you can even go into like lower tier employees too. There's a sheriff down in Polk County, Florida. His name is Grady Judd. He did a press conference, I don't know, a couple of years ago. He's like, he works with other law enforcement agencies in the state of Florida. And during this press conference, he's like, yeah, and we got a Disney employee. There's always a Disney employee. They always get one. So clearly those people aren't even vetting their own employee. Like even their lower level employees are doing stuff to exploit kids around their parks. In
I
Orlando
saw a video of one of the people that works at this like princess dress shop.
Yeah, that's in Disneyland. He's
a man in a dress with a beard.
Yep.
Talking to little girls and
trying to glam them up.
Interfacing with children all day. Like this is the type of job you get if you want access to young children constantly. It's not just like school teachers or, religious leaders. It's this type of job too.
Yeah.
And that's something that obviously the parents are trying to condition their children to think is normal.
Right.
Which isn't okay. But you said like all of these examples that are not just like small anecdotal things, but things that have the official company stamp of approval.
Yeah.
The top executives and all the way to the bottom.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking Reimagine Tomorrow stuff. These are the people that are producing the shows. Like Carrie Burke is one of the top executives at Disney.
I certainly hope that when she referred to her transgender child and her pansexual child, those are adult children.
I have no idea.
I
but
really hope so.
There's a video that I saw the other day. British woman named Helen Joyce did an interview, and she was basically saying that the parents of these children are going to fight to the death because they will never accept that they have ruined their own children. And that's why you'll keep seeing this stuff being pushed over and over again, because they can't accept the fact that they have been detrimental to their own kids.
There are like Facebook groups
good.
dedicated to like parents of queer kids or whatever, where if you say anything off script, you're going to get dogpiled.
Right.
It's like almost all mothers to Munchausen's by proxy for sure. But yeah.
But, I mean, I feel like we're just at the tip of the iceberg, and I mean, those are just the things that come to the top of my mind. I'm sure there's like there's a lot of other things that other people are going to bring up as well.
So then why is it between this and then we also talk about how, look, Disney's been laying people off left and right. Bob Iger is also talking about, right now he's talking about paring back Star Wars and Marvel,
We've been talking about it for a while now.
They've already done. But like, why is it that they end up giving somebody like Iger the massive bonus that they do, or these other CEOs the massive bonus they do? Is it because they're willing to push the gender ideology and the things that he's claiming aren't happening here because it's beneficial to stakeholder capitalism through your ESG score? So he's doing what needs to be done for the company, even if outwardly it doesn't look profitable. It's certainly the direction as a corporation they seem to want to go. So by that idea, he's doing what they want, even if it's not making them any profitable returns.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a likely theory. I mean, it's hard for me to really know or even speculate, because I feel like there's like so many moving parts on that. I do think that he did kind of, he was effective at one point in his career as the CEO before he handed it off to Chapek, when he was bringing in Marvel, he was bringing in Star Wars, he's bringing in Pixar, he's bringing in all of these IPs and stuff that were doing really well. They were, I mean, Avengers Endgame, huge money, right, at the box office, making lots of money. Seemingly like parks were doing really well. So there were some like things there, and maybe that they're basing off of his past record. Hey, maybe he can turn it around. But at the same time, all the things that are plaguing the company now are things that he was the one who started. He's the one who decided to cut his nose off despite his face by pulling all of their Marvel shows, everything off of the massive licensing deals they had with Netflix onto Disney Plus, where they're just like completely like just cratering profits there. They're not making any money from that. They're losing.
And the
lots
subscriber
of money
growth has kind of
they actually, I think out. They like the last report, I think they lost subscribers in the US. Domestically as well, because they lost a ton of subscribers abroad. That was mainly in India when they lost the rights to the cricket league. So yeah. I'm trying to like, what is that sport called?
Sport with the
I know there's like a bet.
Hotstar or something like that.
That's
what it was called.
It was the name of the network.
Yeah,
but it wasn't just that.
Oh no, hot. They still have Hotstar. Like that's what they call their service, right? They partner with it's called like Disney Hotstar over there. But the cricket, that's not what the cricket league is different. That's like an actual sports league.
They can't get off on the technicality for all of those losses.
Right. No, and it looks like they are seeing significant declines now in the park. And one of the big things that people were going after Chapek for is that he restructured the company so that you could kind of hide like some of the losses that were happening in the movie business and the TV business and like the ESPN business.
Fudge the numbers.
And hide it with the park business, because the park business is like their main business. That's where they get most of their revenues from.
Well, it's just like when they make these movies, they're really just making movies so that they can put the busts, like the action figures, and they can sell the action figures. They can have the statues and everything. And
that was how Walt did it, right? Yeah. That was how Walt did it, but that's clearly not how they're doing it now. I think you can point to Kathleen Kennedy making a phone call. This is according to a former Disney Imagineer, Disney VP, making a phone call saying, hey, we're not doing Tatooine Land, we're doing Batuu now, instead of like what everyone would have thought, right? When you're going to like, if you're going to do a Star Wars land, you're going to do Tatooine, you're going to do original trilogy, prequel trilogy. You're not going to do sequel trilogy because you don't even know how successful that's even going to be, because it's not.
Judging by the sales of the action figures, not very good.
Yeah, I mean, everything we saw from the action figures, I haven't really seen a lot of that stuff recently, but like the action figures for Star Wars that like were plummeted, especially around like 2018, 2019. You had toy makers literally telling us that no, there's no demand for these sequel trilogy characters. People, like, there would be interviews where they would come in and be like, hey, why aren't you making more Kylo Ren busts or something like that? And they're just like, there's no demand for these characters. Are you sure there's a demand for this?
Yeah.
Because I'm not seeing it. We can't sell them. So why would we spend money creating things that we can't sell?
Oh yeah, Dustin says Reva lightsabers. Remember?
Yeah,
Remember?
Hasbro could not even crowdfund it.
Yep.
Perfect example.
The attendance at the parks also is just something that makes me think, like, are we living in a simulation? Because in this economy, in this Biden economy, who can afford the
Bidenomics, I tell ya.
the prices just for attendance, let alone once you actually get into the park? The prices are gouging out the actual middle class, which went to the parks in just the 2000s. It was like an annual pass in the 2000s is the same as 1 day pass.
Right.
now.
Yeah. So, and not only that, they've seemingly turned their backs on the state of Florida. They used to give discounts to Florida citizens and stuff like that, especially during the summer months where they could take their kids and everything like that, because that was a low point because it's so hot there in Florida. People aren't like, I don't want to go vacation in Florida. No, they're like going to the beach and stuff like that instead. But yeah, so I do think that is an issue. I mean, he brings it up in the CNBC thing. He said that was one of the first things he addressed was pricing. I don't think that they've really kind of found that sweet spot yet. They are keeping the parks artificially low and in attendance as well. They're deploying some different like methods to do that, to keep less people in than what they could have in there. And then there's a report that like even that Wall Street Journal report that he's responding to, like the travel agency, it's like literally called like Mickey something, like it's like literally like a Disney travel agency. Basically they're trying to like get people to Disney. They're like, yeah, people are booking cruises and going to Europe instead.
Okay.
So
you can go to Europe for cheaper. Though we did watch that really funny video yesterday about how France is actually awful.
Oh yeah. How Paris is overrated. It smells like armpit.
Probably does now. That's probably accurate.
And the food's mid.
Look,
what they're doing to Notre Dame is a shame.
I have no real interest in anything Disney has put out lately. They seem to be at the forefront of outrage marketing for most of their products.
The culture war that they're not in, that they don't engage in.
Exactly. Them and Amazon with their Lord of the Rings outrage marketing, they seem to be at the forefront of that.
100% they are.
So, for Bob Iger, like for his company, I don't have any love lost for him either. I have no love lost.
They have the official Star Wars count tweeting that people that are critical of their TV shows are racists.
Of course. Yeah. Well, yeah, you couldn't dare be critical of Star Wars, otherwise you're a bad person, right? All right, we got some super chats there.
Christmas loving engineer, hopefully you didn't go to that Christmas party, said saw Sound of Freedom last night. Very well done movie. Theater was packed and thankfully we had AC. Yeah, Brett and I saw another one of those videos from Sound of Freedom viewers.
There's a couple.
After walking out. It's this like conservative blonde chick and her fiance, and they're like, we were the only people in the theater because the AC was broken and they didn't turn the lights off when the movie started. They really don't want you to see this thing, huh?
I want it to become like a thing where they're like, the popcorn was only lightly buttered and my soda was flat.
They don't want you to see this movie.
They're out to get ya.
Yeah, we ran an article yesterday. The actual Angel Studios put out a press release basically saying that those videos are not true.
Yeah. Francisco Sanchez Jr. said, blood is a running theme in entertainment. Angelina Jolie and Billy Bob giving each other vials with their blood in it. Lil Nas X promoting sneakers with human blood.
Forgot about the Lil Nas X story.
We had the guy dressing up as Satan in the Grammys,
so
right?
LARPy.
Oh yeah, Sam Smith wore like a huge outfit to the Barbie premiere. Look like he's in his overweight era.
Looks like
so he
when
was
you let your
hiding.
toddler start dressing themselves for the first time. Billie Eilish did the same thing. But that's normal for her.
Yeah, she does.
Dressing like Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
J-Spot said, the flood of super chats last night was so moving.
Yes. I didn't get to see it live, but I saw it after the fact, and it was very, very awesome to see that many people come together. And here's the other thing. So apparently, what was the name of the group? I have it here, actually. Hold on one second. They were talking about it earlier today.
Like Tim Ballard's
yeah, well, so apparently, like Ballard was promoting like a URL that wasn't the actual URL.
Oh.
So somebody bought the URL that he was promoting and then and then redirected it to the one he was saying.
Oh,
so
okay.
like how awesome is that?
That's really
right?
cool.
Timcast will
that's
just
awesome.
give you like this heartwarming charity stream with Tim Ballard, and then the next morning you're like shaken back awake by the drag queen debate.
It's very depressing.
Gonna keep you on your toes.
Yeah.
Disco Jensen said, Hollywood is done as the medium for engaging the public. Budgets are getting bigger for games, and they're happy to poach actors and writers.
Like this thing, a lot of actors are now doing a lot of video game work, right? They do a lot of voice work now.
That's
Ashley
not unheard
Johnson,
of, though.
No, it's like Ashley Johnson, who voices Ellie in The Last of Us, is also a very established regular Hollywood actress. She's not just somebody that does voice work and stuff like that. I also follow like a litany of really funny voice actor Instagrams that are they're great. Like where it's like what your what your favorite anime says about you, what your favorite DC character says about you. It's basically like a magazine article from the 70s or the 80s, except for now it's just done by people on Instagram.
We got a $20 one from Ryan here. He said they still have discounts for SoCal residents, but they made the system so convoluted and bloated, which rippled to other surrounding parks. I gave up trying to even wanting to go, using that money for this and Erewhon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go down there later this month, and we're not going to be going to Disney. We're going to be going to Legoland. I have my wife has family down there with young children. They don't go to Disney. The kids they're given the option, like, where do you want to go? They're like, and they were like Universal or Legoland. They have no interest in going to Disney.
Isn't Nintendo opening their own as well?
Yeah, that's coming out. That's coming up soon. I think they opened it already in Japan. Yeah. There's some like really awesome, crazy videos of that. It looks really cool, but I think they're still building it right now.
I know this family that just blows like probably tens of thousands of dollars going to Disney somewhat frequently, and I just can't imagine like the brain worms that you have to justify these decisions.
I mean, some of the old rides are. I mean, a lot of like Magic Kingdom and stuff is still a lot of the old stuff. I mean, obviously they're destroying Splash Mountain.
Yes.
But they still have a lot of the older rides that there's some nostalgia factor to that.
So I can get Bayou Adventure.
Yeah, it's going to be terrible. I think they're keeping the one in Japan though. I think Splash Mountain in Japan is going to be the last one. They're not destroying that one.
I wonder if the AC is out. I wonder if the AC went out in any of the Sound of Freedom showings in Texas, because that would be hell.
Or Florida.
Or Minnesota.
Even here in Virginia.
If the AC
Maryland.
went out in Minnesota, that would really be suspicious.
Hey, Minnesota was super hot over the 4th of July when I was visiting there, but then I came back and it was super hot here, so it didn't really help at all. Let's hold off. No, let's do one more.
Okay, Cheeseburger said, sounds like Hollywood needs a pile.
Hollywood.
I don't know what that means.
It's really funny too, because we're like talking about these stories, and they think like whenever you pluck the nose of the actor and you say you're stupid, they're like, oh, you're simping for the corporations. I'm like, no, they're all awful. Yeah. And they all deserve each other as far as I'm concerned. The Fran Dreschers of the world
sort of like Seth Rogen and his ex-girlfriend. They deserve each other.
Exactly. They deserve each other the way Bob Iger does. They deserve to spend all their time arguing with Bob Iger. So, all right, Mary, tell us about Adam 22, because this is a degenerate story if ever there was one.
I don't know. Did we talk about Adam 22 and his wife yet?
Yes,
basically,
we have.
Yeah, so his wife, Lena the Plug, recently did her first...
How do you say it?
It's Lena the Plug.
It's Lena? It's not Lena?
See, I thought it was Lena,
yes.
too.
So Adam 22's wife recently did her first corn scene with another man than her husband, only weeks after they got married, by the way.
See, you don't even need Disney to degrade degrade the relationships between men and women and sexuality.
Influencers are doing that job just fine.
Yeah.
It's clearly not a good marriage.
You can't escape.
I don't know if it's even a marriage at all. I don't know why someone would get married if this is what marriage looks like to them. And they even have a child together.
Wait,
it's
really?
Yeah, it's scary stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Now, Adam 22 has started hitting on
storming
Pearl.
outside.
I can hear the thunder.
Okay.
I think that God is like kind of ready to smite us.
I was like typing second crisis party into the chat, and then I just hear from outside. Holy crap.
I wasn't sure if that was like the skateboards or something.
Adam 22 has now leveled a proposition at just Pearly things.
Also, not her first scene. Not her first scene.
It's not?
No.
That's what everyone was saying, is that it's her first scene with another man.
They're saying no in the chat.
Adam22 needs to debunk this himself.
I'm going to have to go do some research,
anyway.
ladies and gentlemen. I'll be right back.
No.
Adam22 replied to Pearl Davis on Twitter. She was talking about this situation, saying, like, how can any man respect you, let alone any woman? After you've done this, you're openly cucked.
Sounds true.
And he said, I'll give you
Accurate.
$1 million to come on Plug Talk and experience your first threesome.
Big super chat from Beanbag Actual. No
the whole
message.
House just shook.
The whole, literally,
Yeah.
guys, the house is shaking. So,
God is angry.
Beanbag Actual, thank you so much for the super chat. And a big,
and then
another
the
one
last
from
of my kind said, if the AC went out in the theater in Texas, you know there's some guy that has one of those portable ACs mounted on the back of a truck that was just backing into the theater. God bless Texas.
That's what we need.
Take some ice.
I think you're right. I think God is very angry at Lena the Plug and Adam22 right now.
I
As he
think so
should be.
too.
As he should
He said,
be.
you gotta live a little, Pearl. And she replied to this and said, the audacity, I don't need your money and I have a dad, Adam. And he said, just talk to your dad. He said it's chill.
That was actually a fairly clever response. I was okay with the response. They all deserve each other.
Adam22 is very pathetically trying to be in on the joke while everyone is obviously mocking him for being a cuck, but it's not working.
Or is he just the ultimate capitalist?
I'm not
who's
buying
willing
into
to debase his own relationship and sense of self just to make money.
Pearl Davis also said,
Probably a combination of both.
if you like me, say you like me. Stop hiding behind Plug Talk. He realized he needs to stop dating feminists.
Lights flashed.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Oh no. Oh
Yeah.
no. I'm feeling some demonic spirits might be like interfering with the technology in the studio.
I just saw it like show up on the screen. Like
And this Adam22 guy is clearly
God is not happy with you,
No.
Adam.
needs a lot of help.
God says Lena and him need to work things out quick.
Yeah.
And Lena has also come out and said that she enjoyed having sex with another man than her husband more than her husband.
Look, you don't just the point of the story is this. You don't have to just
there's
worry
a point.
about
This is
just
new.
you don't have to just worry about Disney harming your children. You have to worry about every single piece of media they consume. Whether it's podcasts, whether it's YouTube, like
We were
there's
talking about that earlier. Instagram has literally admitted that they are negatively impacting specifically young women.
just because of it's harming their self-image.
Yeah.
I mean, but they've been doing that's been going on for decades.
I mean,
But now they actually have internal studies that they conducted now that have like come to the light and they know what they're doing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Facebook did those studies years ago where they said we needed to find out what was going to help move, get people to click on stuff. And we found that people being pissy and angry is what really gets people to click. And like I said, you do not expect a corporation to act like a human being. If the chart says make people angry, then they go, guess we got to make people angry then. And then you get into the discussion where these companies always talk about their code of ethics, what their mission statement is. I'm guessing that nowhere in the Facebook mission statement does it say make people feel nice and pleasant and happy. It says get people to click. And
it's even worse than that too, because obviously with like Instagram, their algorithms are almost like at least this is what they were reporting, that their algorithms were out of control. They actually tried to like take down people were like using certain phrases to find pictures of children on there. And so Instagram literally manually went in and like took it down. But a week later, the feed had picked it back up and created that network, rebuilt the network.
That is insane.
The entity.
For those people.
It is. It's the entity.
That's what they claimed.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe them, but that's what they were saying.
Yeah,
why it was back up.
If you plop your kid in front of Disney Plus, that's a bad idea, but it's not a better idea to sit them in front of an iPad where they're watching the YouTube algorithm take them down a rabbit hole, or TikTok or Twitter or Instagram or any of these platforms. It's not any better just because it's social media, obviously. And
yeah, you don't want to overdose on any of this stuff.
Yeah, and the funny thing is I'm like, I notice it. Like there are nights where like I have to be very careful at what time. Like when I finish work, like if I don't decide to go skate right after work, the lights are flickering again. Like if I end up like scrolling on my phone for too long, and that's not even looking at anything necessarily damaging. It's just bad for you to sit there and consume
especially
content
right before
that way.
like you're going to bed or whatever.
Oh yeah,
and then you can like your mind starts racing about like everything, and you like can't sleep.
Last night I was like, it was
Horrible.
like 9 p.m. I was half listening to the show, while they were doing it, and I was scrolling through my phone, and I just hit a peak where I'm just like, I got to get out of the house. So I just went and skated till like 11:30 just because I was like, I need to go and do something that's not sitting on my phone.
I try and read now. I've been doing a lot more reading, like obviously not on my computer, but like actual physical books.
Exercise for me, it's like I try to skate 3 to 4 times a week, and so there's like Saturday and Sunday I skate a lot, so there's a natural gap between Monday and Tuesday. I usually take those days off these days, but otherwise I have to find the time.
Yes! Thank you!
I have to find the time.
I totally thought that was the thunderstorm at first.
Maybe that's what we'll get, a sound of thunder for the next Crisis part. But like, I'm looking at stuff where I'm very boring and look at the same stuff all the time. Kids are more inquisitive and are going searching for stuff, and they're finding themselves in horrific places.
I mean, you don't even have to search for anything. The algorithm will take care of it for you.
Exactly.
Somebody in the chat says, does reading
Which
comments...
can be helpful sometimes, obviously.
Reading comments. Does reading comments count as reading? I do my best to not read the comments ever. It's not... Like, I get stuck reading them sometimes when I refresh the page, and I'm like, oh, that was mean. That was very mean. Not very nice at all.
Reading the comments is definitely a rabbit hole that you can get stuck in.
It's not a good thing. And like, I'll put it this way. You never leave happier. Even if they say nice stuff, you usually don't leave happier, because there's always one that comes through and just ruins all the nice stuff.
Usually not going to be...
That's usually the one that you focus on.
You're not going to be happier after doom scrolling on Twitter either. I mean, I'm just scrolling and I see, beheading video, guy jumping off a building. Clown World.
ISIS bomb. This is great.
It's a Clown World video about like drag queens coming for your kids.
This is what Mary's algorithm is, because she has to do the cringe of the day here.
Yeah, I'm doing the real hard work. I'm a laborer.
She does. Like every so often, like when she was out of town, like we just didn't do cringe some of the days. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not subjecting myself.
No, before I went
that.
out of town,
Absolutely
I just spammed you with like 10 different cringe of the days.
I didn't use all of them. There was a couple of them that seemed kind of mean that I didn't use, but the first
nice guy, Brett.
No. It's just I feel like maybe you'd have had more insight to them than I did, because it was just, like, there's the one video of like the guy at like the football game. Do you remember that? Like,
they have him go through an obstacle course.
I didn't,
and he can't do it because he's fat.
I didn't show that. I didn't show that one. I'm like, it just feels mean to show that one. If it had been a celebrity, it would have been okay.
If I weren't here, I know this would be a lot more wholesome show.
It's
you got to deal with me.
I didn't say it was wholesome. I just said that, those somehow the videos are worse. Like celebrity cringe, I'm fine with, but when it's just some random person, I'm like, this. I did see a great one yesterday where it's a guy and a girl at it's like a basketball game, and he gives the girl a kiss, and he sees that he's on the camera, and he just immediately goes rigid and takes his arm out. He's very clearly cheating on his wife. And got caught, and just his face just becomes sad and forlorn. And if you're into the idea that he's had what's coming to him, if he had just played it off, nobody would have ever known. It would have just gone by. Does his wife watch pro basketball games? Probably not. But his reaction meant it ended up all over the internet as a very clear example of a guy.
He probably got his comeuppance.
Yeah. He got what was coming to him for it. But
he knew what he was doing was wrong too, though.
Yeah, absolutely he did. So, it's not just Adam 22 and his wife that are out to damage you.
It's so ironic, because I think Pearl wants to position herself as someone who's like opposing this type of degeneracy, but at the same time tells women that if you get married to a quote high value man, or any man really, then your necessary bargain that you have to enter into is that he's allowed to sleep around and you're not. And fidelity is not something that you should expect from a high value man in a marriage. And you can't expect men to hold any promises or have any sexual discipline, because that's just feminist garbage, right?
Yeah.
Like, she clearly is promoting the same type of degeneracy when you look past the surface level.
I don't really follow her, so I can't
it
really
is
comment
one
on
of
that.
her unironic takes.
Okay, but yeah, that's ridiculous.
Ladies, cheating isn't the worst thing in the world. If you're dating a high value man, you might as well expect him to, and it's okay.
It's not exactly the message we want to be sending our young women. It's not.
It's so blackpilling if you have no frame of reference. If you're just some teenager like watching these clips online, and Pearl asks a panel of men, like, how many of you would cheat on your wives if you were allowed to do so, if you didn't have anyone catch you? and they all raise their hands.
Really? That's
If you
sad.
see a clip like that and you don't have a frame of reference
Yeah.
for like normal, sane people
Right.
who obviously wouldn't raise their hand or agree with that sentiment in any way, then it's incredibly blackpilling, and it in fact disincentivizes women.
How old were those men?
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
But it disincentivizes the viewers, especially women, from even entertaining the thought of getting married and settling down one day, and it's disgusting.
It's sad. That's very sad.
A big part of it is also is that in a lot of ways the differences between men and women in what we would used to call the battle of the sexes has been monetized so heavily, both on social media. Like some of the, I will admit, some of the funniest content on Instagram are videos that poke fun or talk about, you know, the differences between the sexes. And depending on what your worldview is, some of that can be very, very painful to hear if you're not used to hearing stuff like that. But also, you know, whether it's feminists talking about the differences between men and women or red pill people talking about the differences between men and women, we live more increasingly digitally, and our physical, real world relationships are being given, the advice being given about them is being a means of monetizing for a lot of people. And that's not always a recipe for the most rational or tame of content. It's incentivizes those people to increasingly make more and more divisive statements because there's a grain of truth to a lot of what's being said. And I'm not a fan of that stuff, but I understand the entertainment aspect of it for a lot of people. But I also don't think that you should take Adam22 and Lena the Plug as your best relationship advice either. There should be a middle ground there somewhere.
They made a video where Adam22 bought his wife a Lamborghini as a congratulations for having sex with another man. This is obviously not what should be your model for a successful relationship or marriage.
Yep. All right, we got some super chats there to end the show.
Disco Jensen said these actors and writers aren't thinking about the cameraman, carpenter, rigger, electrician, or caterer that's out of work because of their strike. True.
Yeah, no, they
Are
mentioned...
they part of SAG-AFTRA, though?
No.
They supposedly
Just
have
the
a
actors?
fund for these crew members
Right.
to pay them in the meantime, but that dries out eventually.
They're in a separate union?
I don't know if they actually, if there's a union involved.
I thought they
for
were
that.
part of SAG-AFTRA.
But they
Some
were
of them
talking
are.
about like the below the line workers. A lot of those people aren't going to be taken care of in that, so it's gonna be rough. And
AI can't replace those people.
No,
That's
they
not
cannot.
gonna happen.
Oddly enough, those people cannot be replaced. You cannot have a computer program hang the set in any way, shape, or form.
Simulated Dave said Ashton Kutcher's tears mean nothing if he's willing to work with avowed Polanski sympathizer Deb Winger on the ranch. Well, there were other people saying that Ashton Kutcher's foundation partnered with John McCain's Institute, and they were given a grant for multiple years to combat trafficking, and it was found in their IRS filings that they did not spend a single cent on doing that. So you really are putting foxes in charge of the hen house there. Aardvark said, odds on the Marvels going straight to Disney Plus and skip theaters?
That's an interesting one because
no.
of, you don't think that even without the marketing, they'll just release it
That's
as
going
is?
to theaters. Yeah.
Even as is?
Get more
'Cause
money.
There's already...
It's a big budget movie.
There's already posters up for it at the movie theater
Yeah.
that we go to, so we're already seeing
Yeah, it's a
them.
shame. It's a shame we're gonna be not having Brie Larson interviews.
See, you know, here's the
So
thing.
looking forward to those, honestly. She was wearing a cross in the Fast 10 interviews.
I saw
They really kept her low key on that. She's really gone quiet. I feel like she's not pushing her agendas as much anymore.
Well, also in that movie, she doesn't overshadow Vin Diesel. She knows her place in that film, and that's where her place is. It says not the lead
proverbial
character.
kitchen.
I mean, she had a huge cross. Did you see? She had like a huge cross
Yeah.
on in those Fast 10.
It was a cleavage cross.
Yeah,
I pointed
it
that
was
out.
just-
It was pointed down, right there.
Yeah.
That's not good, right?
Not the best way.
It's kind of weird that she was
Wear a
wearing that
cross.
too, though.
But it's just really funny because she has become a subject of debate. Yesterday we talked about, is Margot Robbie mid. And obviously, I think it's insane to call Margot Robbie mid. But then people used to have the debate about Brie Larson. Is Brie Larson attractive or not? And she falls into the same category as AOC, in which when I look at a Margot for Margot Robbie, I know little to nothing about her as a person, and barely ever even hear her talk in her regular accent. So it's a lot.
You didn't realize she was Australian?
Yeah. No, I did. But I'm saying you never hear her talking it. So when I hear her voice in my head, I still hear either Harley Quinn or a vaguely American accent, right? So like when you talk about whether Margot Robbie is mid or not, first of all, she's not. Second of all, like it's a lot easier to just base your opinion on their physical appearance because that's what the question is.
Right.
When you know next to nothing about them. But when you're talking about an AOC or a Brie Larson, they're I don't care what a 40-year-old white male has to think about a wrinkle. That comes into your head and immediately you start to wilt.
Yeah,
you go flaccid and you say, I can't give you a rating.
Margot Robbie should do one of those viral street interview videos where she goes up to random men on a boardwalk or something and asks them to rate her. And then we'll really find out whether or not she's mid.
Yeah, what people think about her.
It'll be like, I'm
she's
married,
clearly
zero.
not mid. I mean, the whole reason why she blew up was because she did that scene in Wolf of Wall Street. Come on.
Oh, Margot Robbie. Yeah, but I don't think Brie Larson is mid either. I just think that her personality makes it a lot harder.
Her personality is below mid.
Yes,
she's not top tier either, though.
It falls somewhere between the two.
Brie Larson is no Barbie.
Yes,
that's for sure. Tom Bombaderp said, if you're not being mean in the comments, you're not having fun. It's a mosh pit, Brett. The whole point is to ride a jet ski through the sewer and stir it.
I do love the chat. When the chat's mean to
I
me,
like that visual, riding a jet ski through a sewer. That like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles need to get on that.
Yes, they could do that right now.
That'd be fun.
Now here's one of the things that I find annoying about television and movies now. Because society is so safe, one of the things I love about Tom Cruise...
Society is not safe. What are you talking about?
No, in the movies... So here's the thing. When Tom Cruise rides a motorcycle in a movie, they don't make Tom Cruise wear a helmet. Tom Cruise rides a motorcycle without a helmet on. Most of the time now, you see a kid riding a bike in a movie, the kid's got a helmet on. I'm like, that kid wouldn't be wearing a helmet right now. Like, because Hollywood...
I always wear a helmet.
Hollywood produces these fake, overly sanitized things.
Stranger Things kids didn't wear helmets.
Did they not wear helmets in Stranger Things? But most of the time, at least on a lot of shows, it feels like they portray an overly safe version of things. So don't make Tom Cruise wear a helmet.
Did they wear helmets in E.T.?
I don't think they did, but that was like in the 80s.
The 80s, that's what I'm saying. It was a different
But Stranger Things is supposed to be set in the 80s. So that's why.
There you go. They wouldn't have been those helmets. In fact, the helmets they would have worn now didn't exist back then, so it wouldn't have worked. They would have been wearing different helmets at the time. Though I guess they could have still done that. So. All right. Oh, we have somebody saying praise Satan in the chat and then says hail Satan. That's wrong. No, my friend. Nobody's doing that here.
Repent.
All right, guys. Before we go, happy Friday to all of you. Would you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already? Thank you very much for that. John, my friend, let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, so we're at Bounty and Comics on YouTube. Obviously, we have bountyandcomics.com, which is our website where we're publishing stuff pretty much every single day except for Sundays. And then I have a personal channel, John F. Trent, where I cover like stock car race, like local stock car racing, and some NASCAR stuff.
And you bounding into sports as well?
Yeah, we have bounding into sports as well. I've kind of stepped aside from that a little bit, but that's still going. I'm still kind of more as like an advisor now than like a writer or doing any kind of editing or anything.
Awesome. All right, Mary, where can they find you?
You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on Twitter. That is also Mary Archived.
Perfect.
Can you send validation on Twitter?
It's impossible.
It's impossible because
we don't have
for
the
angry
technology.
people, right?
Yeah, it's for anger and vitriol.
What about those like little fruit snacks that you were doing yesterday? The video, the cringe of the day.
Wait, what?
You can find those on Twitter.
Okay, that's on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
And by the way, guys, I did manage to answer the poll today. I did remember. Usually, I forget to end the poll.
Oh yeah.
I always forget to end the poll. I'm the
2
worst.
hours ago.
Exactly.
Well, yesterday when we asked is Margot Robbie mid, and he ended the poll disappeared suspiciously.
What?
So YouTube was trying to suppress the truth. But here,
Jeez,
how many people think that Mark Wahlberg's story was real?
69% say yep. They say they think it is, and 30% say fake news. It's because it's point percentages. Likely it doesn't. We've had this question before. It's like the numbers aren't numbering. The math's not mathing. We got one more here from Beanbag Actual.
Yes. Have a good weekend.
Perfect. Guys, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. This show is here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. If you would like to listen to this podcast rather than watch it, we are on Amazon Music, we're on Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. And if you'd like to follow the show on social media, we are on Twitter at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. I will actually be on Timcast IRL tonight, so I will see you there, and we will see you back here again on Monday. Later, guys.
What are you talking about?
Bye.